Chapter 629. Then why did you come to see us? Jiang Nailan couldn't tell that the Yi Jin in front of him was Jiang Li in disguise, because in his impression, Jiang Li still had the same temperament as before. But now, Jiang Li had gone to the depths of the universe with Long Hua and obtained the corpse of a god. After absorbing the immortal divinity, Jiang Li's cultivation base had increased by who knew how many times. His temperament had become even more profound and ever-changing. It was not something that he could fathom at all. Moreover, after Jiang Li returned, he split a part of his soul fire to refine divinity in the depths of heaven's space, comprehended the ancient chaos halberd, and obtained the monetary system of the immortal tower. He brought it into the cultivation world, and the people were very harmonious. In this way, Jiang Li's soul gradually had traces of the sage's aura. This kind of sage was not a saint, but a guide to the future of an entire race. This was what the angel race called a prophet. That's right, Jiang Li's soul now had the aura of a prophet. Behind him was the destiny and power of the race, which no expert could compare to. Jiang Nailan's cultivation was just opportunistic. No matter how powerful he was, he couldn't compare to Jiang Li's magnanimity, because the two were destined to be different. When Jiang Nailan abandoned his race, he was already on a path of no return. He was a wanderer. Even if he hooked up with the martial world, the demon world, the angel race, and even became a disciple of the immortal tower, he was still a wanderer. These weren't his race, and he didn't have a sense of belonging in the depths of his soul. I think we can work together. Jiang Li's Yi Jin began to bluff. You guys definitely want the cultivation world. If the entire world is yours, won't you make a fortune? What a joke. The backlash of the cultivation world's heavens is very powerful. Even if Prince Tattoo came here, he would only die if he attacked forcefully. I don't have such a big appetite. Wu Zhen said calmly. I think you want to kill us with a borrowed knife? Or are you scheming something so that we can do it for you? You are very bold. Aren't you afraid that I will kill you now? You can't kill me. Even your hallucination can't kill me. Yi Jin didn't care at all. If you don't believe me, you can try. Since I dare to come here, I have to ensure my own safety first. Tell me, what should we do? The cultivation world is ours. Wu Zhen said. Of course it's a sacrifice of great power. Then, the sandpiper and clam will fight and the fisherman will reap the benefits. Yi Jin sent out a psychic wave. The experts of the Immortal Tower will definitely come. What you need now is for Prince Tartu of the Immortal Tower to take action and fight against the cultivation world's will and that Jiang Li. Then, we will wait and see. Apart from that, I also obtained a huge secret. You know what? It's about the cultivation world. What secret? Wu Zhen's ears perked up. Look, in the sky of the cultivation world, that huge light is the space where heaven's will resides. But do you see any changes in the light emitted by heaven's will? Yi Jin chuckled. The light of heaven's will? Wu Zhen raised his head and looked. In the sky, a scorching sun shone down on the earth, emitting endless light. This light gathered together and spread out in all directions. There was a vague divinity contained within it. He grabbed, and immediately, a strand of light wrapped around his fingertip like a burning flame. Divinity? But within this divinity, there seems to be the aura of the martial way. It's the pure martial way of heaven. What's going on? Wu Zhen carefully examined the energy emitted by heaven's will. Suddenly, his expression changed, and he fell in a deep thought. Since I'm working with you, I'll tell you a huge secret. Yi Jin suddenly sent a strand of his psychic wave into the depths of Wu Zhen's mind, letting only him know. Actually, the cultivation world's will and Jiang Li obtained the corpse of a god. Moreover, it's the corpse of a god of the martial world. What did you say? Wu Zhen almost jumped up and stared at Jiang Li. Don't tell anyone. I'll only tell you. Once your senior and junior brothers find out, they'll spread it too. By then, you won't have a share of the corpse of the martial world's god. Yi Jin immediately stopped Wu Zhen's thoughts. I know that for people of the martial world, once you obtain the corpse of the martial world's god, you can definitely absorb the divinity within and fuse it with your own martial way. You'll have the supreme power of a martial way overlord. How do you know this? Who are you exactly? Even Jiang Nailin doesn't know the internal secrets of the cultivation world. As an outsider, how can you know so clearly? This secret was too shocking. Wu Zhen still didn't dare to believe it. Of course I know, because I come from a mysterious world. I used to control the myriad world celestial sphere. Apart from that, I joined the Immortal Tower Star Zone to search for the Fate Jade Disc. This doesn't conflict with your goal, right? Yi Jin was still bluffing. We also want to search for the Fate Jade Disc. Why is the immortal world the number one among the myriad worlds? Why can't our martial world do it? As long as we find the Fate Jade Disc and offer it to the Heaven's Will, our martial world can swallow the immortal world and become the number one world. Wu Zhen said, and whoever finds the Fate Jade Disc, the martial world's heavens can bless him and make him an existence even more powerful than a god. We can work together. Yi Jin said, how about it? I've told you this big secret. That should be enough sincerity, right? Do you want to obtain the corpse of the martial world's god? Of course I do. But how do I know if what you said is true? Wu Zhen didn't seem to believe it. Of course it's true. Moreover, you can feel it yourself. Yi Jin said, the divinity of the heavens here contains the essence of martial way. It's the martial way of God. What do you think? That's not bad. If it's not the martial world's god, it wouldn't have such an aura. The cultivation world's heavens can't have such a pure martial way. Wu Zhen analyzed again and felt that he was right. What are you guys discussing? Jiang Nailin's eyeballs kept spinning. She saw that Yi Jin and Wu Zhen were communicating telepathically. She was a little anxious. Nothing. How could Wu Zhen tell this to Jiang Nailin? In his eyes, Jiang Nailin was just a chess piece of the martial world's heaven's will. Moreover, he wouldn't tell anyone about the corpse of the martial world's god here. We're discussing how to cooperate. Yi Jin also told me about his background. I think we can reach an agreement and temporarily work together to obtain more things. All of you can leave. I'll discuss more things with Jiang Li. Yes. The people here, including Jiang Nailin, all listened to Wu Zhen's arrangements. It showed that Wu Zhen had an extremely high status. These people left one by one. Only Wu Zhen and Yi Jin were left. Tell me, what do you want? Wu Zhen stared at Yi Jin. You told me so many secrets. It's definitely not just for the sake of cooperation, right? What are the specific arrangements? How are we going to do it? I want to obtain the corpse of the martial world's god. The corpse of a martial world's god is useless to me. Of course, it's yours. I just want to obtain the godhead of the true god. Yi Jin said, there's one more thing I have to tell you. I really hope that the cultivation world will advance. It's just a matter of who has the control. You want a whole world? You're too greedy. Wu Zhen smiled. It's good for this world to advance into a universe. However, it's a hot treasure. There are too many people who want it. Perhaps we can lure everyone into the cultivation world and carry out a sacrifice. Yi Jin's heart moved. He had already thought a scheme. I want to borrow the martial world's heaven's will. Among the myriad worlds, the martial world's attack power is the strongest. If a large number of experts are sacrificed, the martial world's heavens will descend here. We can instantly seize control and turn the heavens into ours. Sacrificing the martial world's heavens will naturally bring us countless benefits. However, who should we sacrifice? Wu Zhen thought for a while. We must have a target. Of course, it's the experts of the myriad worlds. Yi Jin said, for example, all the experts of the Immortal Tower, Prince Tattoo, and the various experts who have ideas about the cultivation world. When they enter the entire world, we'll be able to take care of them all. Won't our plan be a success? I feel that your plan is a little unimaginable. Even if the experts of the myriad worlds come to the cultivation world, how can we take care of them all? Sacrifice them all? You must know that the prerequisite for the sacrifice is to capture the enemy and make them unable to resist you mentally and physically. Only by suppressing their souls can you obtain the opportunity to sacrifice them. Wu Zhen said, I naturally have a way to do that. Yi Jin pretended to be mysterious. Now, you just have to cooperate with my plan. Firstly, it's to help me raise my status in the Immortal Tower star field. Secondly, I'll also set up a heaven-defying formation here to construct a mysterious vacuum vortex. It requires countless materials and treasures. When the time comes, those people will all enter the cultivation world to fight. When both sides are injured, we'll activate the vacuum vortex and prepare for the sacrifice. Establish a vacuum vortex in the cultivation world and prepare formation. Won't we be discovered? Wu Jin didn't believe it at all. This is where I'm mysterious. Yi Jin said quietly. I specialize in stealing the heavens. Deceiving the heavens is my forte. If you don't believe me, just watch. He waved his hand slightly. In an instant, a large formation formed in front of him and spread out. It enveloped the surface of the sea and kept stealing the vitality of the entire world. Heaven stealing secret technique? Stealing the vitality of heaven and earth. Wu Jun looked at the large formation and frowned. Such a domineering secret technique is equivalent to destroying the balance of heaven and earth. Logically speaking, heavens will immediately descend and kill you. I'm from. Yi Jin deliberately kept him in suspense. Even deities can be blasphemed. How can I be discovered by this small heaven's will? You. Wu Jun saw Yi Jin's expression and suddenly thought of something. You're from the insect race. Yes, you must be from the insect race. Only the insect race can infiltrate a world unknowingly and steal the vitality of the entire world without being discovered. No wonder you have such a huge arm and want to devour a world at every turn. You've discovered me. Yi Jin's expression became even more mysterious. That's right. I'm from the insect race. I'm the incarnation of the insect race's queen mother. I've discovered the delicacies of this world. However, I'm not fat yet. Only after I advance will I be able to devour this world. If you cooperate with me, I can give you many benefits. For example, if you cultivate here, I can first steal the secrets of heaven here. I can even steal the divinity of the martial world's immortal corpses to increase your cultivation. As he spoke, he pointed with his finger. Instantly, a majestic wave of vitality that contained the divinity of the martial world poured into Wu Jun's body. Wu Jun tried to accept it. Zzz, his whole body began to transform. This was Jiangli giving him a sweet taste, gradually luring him to take the bait. At that time, the martial world's forces would be in Jiangli's pocket. Chapter 630. Nice. Strands of godliness from the martial world's god corpse entered Wu Jun's body, and crackling sounds could be heard coming from inside of him. Then he took a deep breath. I'm very satisfied. It really is a martial world body. I've only absorbed a little bit of godliness, and I'm already on the verge of forming my 15th Grand Tao. 15th Grand Tao. Yi Jin, who is Jiang Li's incarnation, had a thought. In fact, he had deliberately allowed Wu Jin to absorb the divinity of the martial world just to give him some benefits and lure him to his side step by step. Then, he would make use of Wu Jin's influence in the martial world to do many things for him. This Wu Jun in front of him cultivated a total of 14 Grand Taos. If he were to fight Jiang Li with that kind of cultivation base, he would be even stronger than Jiang Li. After all, Jiang Li's current battle prowess was equivalent to that of an expert with 11 to 1 Grand Tao. If he were to face someone with 14 Grand Taos, he would have no choice but to flee. But things are different in the cultivation world. He could easily crush experts. I want to build a spell formation here, Yi Jin said. I need a lot of materials. As you know, we insectoids have to build all sorts of facilities and materials wherever we go. Right now, you can only absorb a little bit of godliness. What about your mother nest? Wu Jin asked. My mother nest was destroyed in a battle, so I need a new one. I also heard that the humans in the cultivation world once obtained a mother queen egg and hatched it. That's what I need. Yi Jin sneered again. I have to get that thing to build a new mother nest. Otherwise, I'll just be a wanderer, a bug with no home to return to. So that's how it is, Wu Jun said. All right, I'll join forces with you. I've benefited a lot from the godliness I just obtained. Tell me, what materials do you need to build a spell formation and plunder the workings of heaven? Then I'll need a lot of materials. Yi Jin knew that he had laid the groundwork. Now it was time for the lion to bite. First, I need primal chaos paleo energy. Lots of primal chaos paleo energy, euphoria stones, devil cleansing gold, Tao spirit jades, nine yang truewood, immortal essence god grasses. He listed many rare items in one breath. However, these were indeed materials to upgrade the mother nest. As long as he could obtain these materials, his mother nest would be able to upgrade quickly and unlock the insectoid technology again. Moreover, the mother nest could absorb the technology of the demon race and the immortal tower. When the two were combined, his mother nest would surpass most of the insectoid race's mother nests. Although the mother nest could continuously evolve, it also depended on what kind of technology they absorbed. Every mother nest wandered in the distant space, constantly searching for the possibility of evolution. The Zerg race plundered various civilizations and fused them together, finally forming their own civilization. Every broodmother had absorbed different civilizations, and the degree of their evolution was also different. At the same level, there would be differences in strength. Right now, the mother nest and the Lord God's photonic computer were absorbing godliness and fusing together. Right now, the mother nest couldn't devour the Lord God's photonic computer to form a new infinity photonic computer. But if it could, Jiang Li's cultivation base would rise to a new level, and he would be able to acquire the secrets of the angel prophet. Although the mother nest and the Lord God's photonic computer were beginning to fuse together, it was only a matter of sharing data. It wasn't a true fusion. In order to do that, the mother nest would need to grow stronger and devour the photonic computer. But the photonic computer on the Lord God's photonic computer was the angel prophet, compared to Jiang Li's photonic computer on the Defiant battleship, as well as the photonic computer on the Immortal Tower's battleship. So many materials? Wu Zhen heard Jiang Li's divine transmission. There were hundreds of thousands of rare materials that even he couldn't get his hands on. Although he was a secret expert in the martial world and had a very high position, he wasn't omnipotent. I need so many materials before I can set up the array. This is a secret art of our insectoid race. Yi Jin said, "How can it be so easy to seize the cultivation world? If we don't pay a price, how can we possibly gain so much? In short, I guarantee that if you get the first batch of materials, I will set up the array here. It won't be impossible for you to cultivate to the 18th Great Tao." 18th Great Tao? Wu Zhen was delighted. If I can constantly absorb divinity, I can really cultivate to this level. Will we set up this array together? Are you afraid that I'm lying to you? Yi Jin said, "You don't have to worry about that. I will tell you the method to condense the array. Moreover, we will condense it together. It will be a bit difficult for me to condense this array, so I will need your help." Then there's no problem. I'll go back and prepare the materials. Only then did Wu Zhen relax. Seeing Wu Zhen's departing figure, Jiang Li smiled. If Wu Zhen could bring a large amount of materials, he would upgrade the insectoid race's photonic computer. The mother nest would then devour the photonic computer on the Lord God's photonic computer and successfully cultivate the infinite photonic computer. At that time, Wu Zhen would be possessed by the insectoids and become his. This way, he would have a chess piece lying in ambush in the martial world. Moreover, he could firmly control Jiang Nailin. Not only that, he could even incite a war between the martial world and the Immortal Tower. When the two colossal forces fought each other, the cultivation world would be safe. On the Infinite Star, the photonic computer of the Mother Nest enveloped the photonic computer on the Lord God's ship and slowly permeated it. The data of the two photonic computers were merging. Other than that, there was another photonic computer. It was completely formed by mysterious runes and data. It formed a huge demonic shadow in the air. This was the photonic computer of the heaven-defying battleship. Other than that, there was another photonic computer. It was a pagoda that was also formed by layers of crystals. It emitted waves of light, and in the depths of the light were many human-shaped runes. This was the photonic computer of the Immortal Tower's battleship. It was taken from the virtual divinity of the Immortal Tower that was 10 billion light-years away. One was the photonic computer of the demon race's heaven-defying battleship, and the other was the photonic computer of the Immortal Tower's starfield. In terms of computing power, It was above the photonic computer of the Lord God's ship. However, it did not contain as many secrets as the photonic computer of the Lord God's ship. Now, the four photonic computers were combined and wriggling together. With the photonic computer of the mother nest as the center, it began to devour and melt. It's time to fuse these four photonic computers together. Zhongli murmured, I've never done this because there are too many things to do. However, this concerns the future of humanity. He sat down and connected his will with the photonic computer of the Queen Mother. Immediately, he became the Queen Mother, and the Queen Mother became him. A huge insectoid appeared in the photonic computer. It opened its mouth and sucked. The demonic shadow, formed by the photonic computer of the heaven-defying battleship, was sucked into the insectoid's body. True fire refines the demon. Primordial spirit is mysterious. One breath settles the universe. My heart resides in the vacuum. Zhongli silently circulated the infinite divine art. His primordial spirit also appeared. His primordial spirit was a ball of vital energy. This ball of vital energy could transform into a world, into all things, into all living beings, into all kinds of martial arts. This was the infinite primordial spirit. With the infinite Tao contained the heavens. He pointed again. His primordial spirit attacked the photonic computer of the heaven-defying battleship. Immediately, all the demonic energy melted and was devoured by the mother nest. Kacha! Zhongli activated all of his cultivation. Finally, the photonic computer of the heaven-defying battleship was completely devoured and turned into nothingness. The mother nest continued to upgrade. Countless tribulation bugs crawled out of the broodmother's surroundings. These tribulation bugs were actually fourth tribulation bugs. Clearly, the broodmother had leveled up again. In this boundless tribulation, there's only an endless cycle in this world. If the old doesn't go, the new won't come. Destroy the old and create the new. That immortal will eventually disappear. All the runes of the immortal tower disappear. Zhongli trembled again. His divine will destroyed the photonic computer of the immortal tower. In the past, he couldn't destroy the photonic computer. But now that he was a disciple of the immortal tower, and an official disciple at that, he was connected to the network of the immortal tower. He obtained a wealth of knowledge and many secrets of the immortal tower's technology. This was especially so in the cultivation world. Everyone was creating money and contributing mental energy to heaven's will and photonic computers. This made the photonic computers stronger and stronger. Rumble. Heaven and earth split open. From within, a mercury-like liquid gushed out. That was the photonic computer of the immortal tower. The photonic computer of the battleship was devoured by the bugs. All of its energy, data, and technology were contained within. The mother nest had actually upgraded to a 5 tribulation bug. The broodmother's advancement mainly depended on the patterns of the tribulation worms. With each new tribulation pattern, the broodmother's technology would be unlocked and all sorts of transformations would increase. Of course, each advancement required a lot of materials and energy, and it even required a grand Tao and nomological laws. But during this period of time, because the mother nest had absorbed divinity, it had upgraded very quickly. Inside the mother nest, it had already accumulated enough energy for the transformation. Now, all it needed was a catalyst, and the material it obtained from Wuzhen was a catalyst. If Wuzhen could bring the materials back and form a formation, the mother nest would be able to upgrade to a 6 tribulation bug. The 6 tribulation bug was a watershed. At that time, the mother nest would have experienced 6 catastrophes. It would have the ability to dissolve and corrode. It would be able to slowly infiltrate the God Nation and become a virus that would corrupt the God Nation. At that time, Zhongli would truly refine the photonic computer of the Lord God ship and obtain the mysteries and power of the angel race. He slowly let out a breath. He saw that the mother nest photonic computer had devoured the heaven-defying photonic computer and the photonic computer of the immortal tower and had upgraded to a 5 tribulation bug. Only the photonic computer of the Lord God ship didn't melt after accepting the data. In other words, the 2 photonic computers' cores were still independent. All that's left is to wait for Wujin to bring the materials over. Also, I wonder how Hallucination and the others' plans are going. I don't think they really want to upgrade the cultivation world. They definitely want to take the entire world for themselves. Jiang Li's body moved, and Yi Jin's clone flew out. He felt that he had to manage this clone well. Perhaps it would achieve great things in the Immortal Tower's star field in the future. Right now, no one knew that Yi Jin was him. Yi Jin returned to the Immortal Tower's star field and saw Yi Wuji again. He said mysteriously, "I heard another piece of news." "What news?" Yi Wuji asked. "In the depths of the cultivation world, there's the aura of a god's corpse. I suspect that they've obtained a god's corpse," Yi Jin said mysteriously. Chapter 631. Yi Jin, who was Jiang Li, told Yi Wuji about the corpses of the gods in the cultivation world. He wanted to muddy the waters, increase trust, and gain status. Of course, he knew that these credits were not enough for the Immortal Tower to trust him. However, credits had to be earned one step at a time. There was a very fair evaluation system in the Immortal Tower's Starfield system. That was, all the contributions one had made would be recorded and wouldn't be buried. When he accumulated enough credits, he would be able to level up automatically. The Immortal Tower system would bless him personally, and he would not have to care about anyone else. This was the benefit of the Immortal Tower. Jiang Li could have entered this information directly into the system and gained more credits. However, he told Yi Wuji on purpose so that Yi Wuji could gain some credits. This was a proof of allegiance, and it meant that he was starting to do things for the Yi family. No matter how the Yi family treated him, he was showing a good attitude. This kind of accumulation, bit by bit, will eventually lead to success when the conditions are right. Now, he felt that he had to manage this identity well. It might be of great use in the future, and he must not be short-sighted and give it up. If one day humans really encountered a powerful god and perished, his identity would be the spark of civilization. As long as he was around, humans could be revived and their civilization could be restored. That was because he had already made a backup of the human civilization, and he could clone it again in the future. Although the cloned humans were not the original bodies, as his cultivation increased, they would not be much different from the current humans. It was better to be prepared. Everything he did was for the sake of humanity's future. Of course, if he did not do it for the future of humans and imitated Jiang Nailin, he might not have achieved what he had today. That was because he and his race were complementary. If the race thrived, he would be given more. If the race died, he would not have any tricks to play. For example, this time, he learned about the Immortal Tower's star sector's financial system and the creation of currency. If he did not have his race, it would be useless. It would not be like now, where everyone was excited. Every currency created was equivalent to offering mental strength to Heaven's will. With the mental strength offered, Heaven's will could absorb more energy from the infinite worlds to replenish itself, and thus produce more resources in the world. This would create a virtuous cycle that would benefit both parties. Moreover, giving out currency to everyone would definitely not cause inflation. In fact, the currency created by consuming part of one's mental strength was a resource in itself. The value of this currency was the real currency. Jiang Nailin couldn't do that. That was why Jiang Li's broodmother had been able to advance so quickly. It was like the people were cultivating for him at all times, and he was serving them at all times. It was just like how no matter how much money a businessman made, he couldn't compare to the emperor. The emperor's entire country was his. When Yi Wuji heard this news, she was shocked. Is this true? If that's really the case, then I'm afraid we'll have to make a new plan after you heard this news. This will have a huge impact on our strategy. Absolutely. Jiang Li's genes suddenly displayed an image. It was a vague image from the depths of the cultivation world's heavens will space. The image depicted a young man sitting in front of a huge corpse. This corpse was countless times larger than a planet, and it faintly emitted the aura of divinity. This was a part of the mysteries of the space of Heaven's will. This is indeed the corpse of a god, and it's the corpse of a god of the martial world, Yi Wuji said. Where did you get this image from? I snuck into the cultivation world and came into contact with the upper echelons. I connected to their network and used the Immortal Tower system to calculate an attack, thus stealing the secrets within. I actually caught a glimpse of that scene in the space of Heaven's Will. Jiang Li's Yi Jin had disguised himself as an extremely powerful network hacker. In fact, there were many ways to steal among the Zergs. He was also very knowledgeable about the network, and after connecting to the Immortal Tower's network, he obtained many useful things. "You have such a trick," Yi Wuji said happily. "Tell me, how many secrets did you find out from the depths of the cultivation world?" Also, the cultivation world has activated the Immortal Tower's financial system. Everyone is condensing their own currency, and it's flourishing now. Jiang Li's Yi Jin packaged up a lot of information and sent it to Yi Wuji. Those were the true secrets of the cultivation world. His goal was to instigate a war and reap benefits from it. The cultivation world was a big fat piece of meat that all the forces wanted to eat. Wu Zhan from the martial world already knew about it, and the Immortal Tower had been eyeing it for a long time. He had to instigate conflict between them as soon as possible. I also know that Wu Zhan is from the martial world, and he won't be loyal to the Immortal Tower's star sector at all. Jiang Li's Yi Jin reported again. "We all know about this, but it doesn't matter. As long as they don't contribute to the star sector, the system won't be friendly to them. If they contribute to the star sector, it doesn't matter even if they have ulterior motives. Our system is absolutely fair, and it will never erase your contributions just because it hates you, nor will it reward you more just because it likes you." Yi Wuji did not care about this at all, as if it was a normal thing. "How many contributions can I get from this information now?" Jiang Li's Yi Jin asked. "Originally, you could have received about 100,000 chaos coins. However, since you told our Yi family will spread the news and receive 50,000 chaos coins. This way, you will only receive 50,000 chaos coins." As Yi Wuji spoke, she observed Yi Jin's changes. Yi Jin's face was expressionless. "I don't care. There will be many more opportunities for me to get contributions in the upcoming changes in the myriad worlds. This has become a good place to get contributions." "Very good, very good." Yi Wuji was very satisfied. "But don't worry, your contributions are your contributions. This time, the Yi family will give you all your contributions, and we won't take any." "What kind of existence is the Yi family? Why will we covet the contributions of a small disciple?" 100,000 chaos coins have been transferred to your account. Apart from that, you can also get 10 contribution points. Beep beep, data appeared in Jiang Li's chip. He had 1 chaos coins and 11 contribution points. Money could be used everywhere, but contribution points were very important too. It represented the openness of one's system and the foundation for future advancement. For example, the advanced system of the entire Immortal Tower starfield. There were many secret searches, and the system could help one level up, analyze, and cultivate. All of these required a large amount of chaos coins and contribution points. Contribution points were the key to unlocking the various help from a system. Once one had enough contribution points, one could use the ubiquitous system to do all sorts of things. If Jiang Li had a lot of chaos coins and contribution points, he could use the system to cultivate the infinite divine fist. He could even use the system to deduce all sorts of changes. The entire Immortal Tower starfield system was almost everywhere in the three-dimensional universe. "Yi Jin, listen to me. You've reported to me directly for the past 2 times and helped our Yi clan gain sufficient opportunities. Now, our Yi clan has gained initial trust in you. In short, I don't care where you're from. As long as you continue to make contributions, you'll be able to obtain sufficient rewards. Once you've obtained benefits, you'll gradually integrate into the big family of the Immortal Tower. Also, the Yi family will be fighting for the cultivation world this time. It's impossible for Prince Tattoo to monopolize all the credit and resources. This time, the cultivation world has the corpse of a god. Once it is completely refined, it might become a real universe. This is what the Yi family needs. Without the corpse of a god, we don't want to fight with Prince Tattoo." Yi Wuji said, "I have already reported this matter to the upper echelons of the Yi family. More experts will descend in the next few days. But Prince Tattoo is a member of the royal family. Won't we be breaking the rules by doing this? Jiang Li, who was disguised as Yi Jin, had completely brought his own identity. So what? Yi Wuji smiled. Moreover, the mission we received was to assist Prince Tattoo to occupy the myriad world celestial sphere. There was no mention of the cultivation world. In other words, the cultivation world is only secondary. We can obtain it. The rule of the cultivation world is that as long as the resources are not recorded in the system, they belong to whoever obtains them. I see. Yi Jin was secretly surprised. He increasingly felt that the Immortal Tower's system was perfect. The laws were sound and extremely fair. They were also very efficient. No wonder they could motivate all the disciples. After a period of time, he would study the laws of the Immortal Tower and see if there was anything he could use. He definitely couldn't find any loopholes in the laws of the Immortal Tower, but he could use the gaps between laws to obtain what he wanted. Then what should I do now? Yi Jin asked the higher-ups for instructions. It's very simple. Continue to infiltrate the cultivation world and spy for information. I have a feeling that there are many secrets hidden in there. As long as you can spy out more secrets, we will be able to take the initiative. In short, if you help the Yi family obtain the cultivation world, then you will at least be an expert with a virtual godhead. Yi Wuji began to promise. I will definitely work hard. Jiang Li, who was disguised as Yi Jin, knew what he should say. Go. If you need anything, you can apply to us. To complete the mission, I will report to the higher-ups in detail and fight for resources for you. Yi Wuji was very supportive of Yi Jin. That's not necessary. When I need to apply for resources, I will definitely report to you. Jiang Li, who was disguised as Yi Jin, flew up and suddenly disappeared. When Yi Wuji saw him fly up, a smile appeared on her face. You're a good seedling. It's a pity that I don't know your background. However, that's not a big deal. The more contributions you make, the higher your level, and the deeper your connection with the system, the more the system will know about you. Everyone who joins the Immortal Tower's star field will not be able to escape the shackles of the system after a long time. In the end, they will become one of us. Jiang Li, who was disguised as Yi Jin, left. He quickly entered the cultivation world and looked at the Milky Way from afar. He realized that more and more experts had descended in the entire Milky Way. A storm was coming. Moreover, the myriad world, celestial sphere, seemed to be expanding again. Chapter 632. The cultivation world was outside the Milky Way galaxy. However, if the myriad world, celestial sphere expanded again, it would definitely envelop the cultivation world. The cultivation world was fixed in the universe. Many of its roots penetrated multiple dimensions and couldn't be moved at all. Moreover, if such a huge world were to be moved, the energy consumption would be shocking. It would cause the world to dry up. Now that the world was at the crucial moment of becoming a universe, not a single bit of energy could be wasted. Therefore, moving the world was something that couldn't be considered. Jiang Li, who was in the form of Yi Jin, returned to the place where he had agreed with Wu Jin in the cultivation world. He sat down cross-legged and started setting up an array. This was a stormy ocean. The array he set up was the heaven-stealing, heaven-snatching, and the secret technique that he had comprehended from the Tao of infinite devouring. Among them was the foundation of the Zerg race. ZZZ. This array was gradually condensed successfully. Within the array, a worm was wriggling. This was the orthodox secret technique of the Zerg race. Let me search for records regarding the Zerg race. Jiang Li, who was in the form of Yi Jin, connected to the optical computer system of the Immortal Tower and started searching for the Zerg race. The optical computer system of the Immortal Tower was very powerful. The information stored within was many times more than that of the cultivation world. There was also a lot of information regarding the Zerg race. After searching for a bit, immediately, a huge amount of information appeared in the depths of Jiang Li's mind. It was too much for the eyes to take in. It was about countless disciples of the Immortal Tower who had encountered the Zerg race while roaming the universe. If an ordinary person were to look at this information, they wouldn't be able to finish learning it in their lifetime. However, Jiang Li had a high cultivation level and a powerful soul fire. He was like an optical computer that could accept endless information. He instantly comprehended the vast amount of information and gained a lot from his understanding of the Queen Zerg. Yeah, this is the structure analysis of the Zerg race's mother nest. Jiang Li saw some important information. However, he had to pay to read it. Fortunately, he had 110,000 chaos coins. Reading the information wasn't expensive and could be done with a few hundred chaos coins. Of course, in the Immortal Tower Starfield, a chaos coin was very valuable and could be exchanged for many spirit stones. Thinking about it, with Jiang Li's current mental strength, he had to expend a lot of energy to create one. This showed how difficult it was to create chaos coins. So, the insect race has so many secrets. My understanding of the insect race is just like a frog at the bottom of a well. Jiang Li looked at the information and discovered many mysteries about the insectoid mother nest. For example, what a devouring mother nest looked like. What was the structure of a defensive mother nest? The genes of an offensive mother nest. These mother nests developed into all kinds of shapes, but they were all the same. This information is actually so expensive. Jiang Li read another article, The War God's Analysis of the Mother Nest. This piece of information was recorded by a deity. It was the Immortal Tower's star domain's war god. When he roamed the universe, he encountered a mother nest. Thus, a great battle broke out, and he captured a mother nest. After dissecting it, he analyzed the situation within. Analyzing the Zerg tribe's mother nest from a god's point of view and thoughts might be incomprehensible to others, but to Jiang Li, it was like sending charcoal in snowy weather. However, this piece of information actually cost 100,000 chaos coins. Jiang Li clenched his teeth and exhaled. Then, this information was sent to his mind. His mind and soul were connected to the system, and he almost entered a virtual world. As expected, it's worth it. Upon seeing this piece of information, Jiang Li read it carefully and felt refreshed. Many of the questions in his mind were answered, and his thinking reached a new height. How to upgrade the mother nest, how to adjust the genes of the Zerg race, how to use energy and what areas were lacking. Every Zerg tribe's mother nest was different. It was the direction of evolution and one's own opportunities. Every Zerg queen egg was like a human. Humans could cultivate to different levels, and the mother nest could also evolve to different levels. And now, this piece of information was God's research on how to optimize the mother nest. In the process of the mother nest's evolution, how to choose, how to use energy, what kind of Zerg race, and how to operate were all important matters. All right, I finally have the right direction, Jiang Li said. This time, as long as Wuzhen brings the materials, I have absolute confidence in evolving the mother nest. However, it's really expensive. As long as I have enough chaos coins, I can buy all kinds of technological information and let humanity's technology advance another step. Now, although humanity had obtained all kinds of scientific information from the Immortal Tower's battleship, the technology was not complete. The team of scientists led by Jiang Zhendong had encountered a bottleneck during their research, and their progress was very slow. One had to know that there was a huge difference between obtaining technology and researching it on a large scale. Jiang Li was in charge of obtaining all kinds of technology, while Humanity Science Institute was in charge of applying these technologies to production. Jiang Li felt more and more that connecting to the Immortal Tower star field was a far-sighted thing. This star field system network was simply a huge treasure trove, and he could continuously dig out good things from it, allowing the race to prosper. What I need now is time. If there was time, give us humans 200 years. As long as we were given another 200 years, we would be able to stand tall in the forest of the myriad worlds and not fear anyone. But now we can't do that. Jiang Li suddenly felt that things were very tough for him. Back then, Wang Chao had shot down the Prophet's battleship, causing humanity to be in a period of 200 years of peace. Now, Jiang Li felt that humanity's calamity came wave after wave, and there was no stopping it all. There was no such thing as an era of peaceful development. In the First World, the 6 major races had attacked, and he had almost died. Then something had happened to the myriad world's celestial sphere, and humanity had moved on a large scale. Now, they were being targeted by the Immortal Tower's star field. Life was really full of troubles. When would the entire human race ever have an era of peaceful development? Ha ha! A burst of laughter rang out. Wu Jin appeared here and saw that Jiang Li was unceasingly setting up a great formation. It was extremely profound, and a queen insect was being born within it. It seemed as though it was about to forcefully squeeze out from the depths of the void. He knew that Jiang Li truly did not lie to him. Have you brought the materials? Jiang Li's incarnation of Yi Jin immediately sent out a psychic wave. Now, I will impart the cultivation method of this mother nest formation to you, so that you can control this formation. This way you can be at ease. In the process of upgrading the formation, you will absorb more divinity, and I will gradually steal the entire world's origin, restoring the original embryonic form of the mother nest. The psychic wave transmitted the secrets of the entire formation. Wu Jin carefully looked at everything in front of him and gradually understood the structure of the mother nest formation. A smile gradually appeared on his face, but he was still wary. Of course, Jiang Li knew that he was wary, so he acted very magnanimously. Come, enter the main formation. With a wave of his hand, Wu Jin stationed himself in the center of the formation, and sure enough, he felt waves of divinity from the martial world's gods rushing over. He absorbed a mouthful, and his whole body crackled. It was so comfortable that words could not describe it. I have brought the materials here. This is my family's wealth. With a wave of his hand, many worlds appeared on Wu Jin's body, and inside each world was a large warehouse. In those warehouses, there were countless materials. Only with his identity and his savings could he obtain so many materials. The martial world was originally rich in resources, and there was everything. And he himself was an expert of the 14 great paths. This kind of expert status was very high, so he naturally obtained a lot of resources. As expected, you have brought all the resources. Jiang Li was secretly delighted. I will refine this formation first. Since you have told me the method of the formation, I will not stand on ceremony. Wu Jin laughed loudly, and with a wave of his whole body suddenly revealed a completely bronze-colored skin. He used his hand to write an ancient word, martial. In the language of Earth, the word martial was stop war. But in the martial world, the meaning of the word martial was not this, but the limit, the supreme heavenly Tao, the most honorable supreme realm. Martial arts represented everything. You can refine it. Jiang Li knew that this was Wu Jin seizing the initiative, but he was still very wary. Other than that, Wu Jin even wanted to seize the formation and obtain the secrets of the insect race. Martial subduing the world, heavenly Tao, daybreak. Wu Jin dissolved the materials one by one, leaving his own imprint on them. His soul flame appeared, which was in the shape of a human. This flame surged, releasing the strongest aura in all directions. His spirit could completely shoot into the distant starry sky. Who knew how many light years away? He was even stronger than Jiang Li. Countless materials were melted, turning into many insect shapes which gathered in the formation. The word martial actually appeared on the body of the insect in the formation. Obviously, Wu Jin was seizing control. He wanted to firmly grasp the initiative in his hands first. Kill! He roared again. The sun and moon changed, and the heaven and earth trembled. One after another, the materials in the worlds exploded, evolving into various kinds of insect race. Divinity, the undying divinity, was absorbed by the insects. To be more precise, it was stolen. Then, the divinity was fed back into Wu Jin's body. Wu Jin's body resounded like thunder. Suddenly, a great Tao rushed out, and then a ring of flames appeared outside his soul flame. He had actually cultivated the 15th great Tao. Ha ha ha. As expected, you didn't lie to me. The speed of absorbing divinity is much faster. Just like this, I've saved at least 1,000 years of hard work. Even if I cultivated for 1,000 years in the martial world, I might not be able to reach this stage. Moreover, I don't have 1,000 years to wait. I've already used up a few thousand years. Wu Jin continued to cultivate. I want to refine 16 great Taos. The contradiction between the divinity and the great Tao prevents me from exploding. This is simply too good. Zhongli watched as he advanced and cultivated, not the least bit afraid. In the depths of the cultivation world, it didn't matter how strong Wu Jin's cultivation was. He was waiting for the moment when Wu Jin's cultivation reached the strongest. At that time, he could execute his plan. The stronger Wu Jin was, the better. Chapter 633. Immortal Divinity, Descend. Wu Jin raised his arms high, accepting the divinity. The formation started to show its true form. Zhongli could feel the broodmother's photon robber expanding, about to ascend to the 6th tribulation level. Countless materials were infused by Wu Jin, and the broodmother finally revealed its terrifying side. In the depths of planet infinity, inside the broodmother's nest, countless oddly shaped bugs were born. They weren't robber bugs, but secret bugs. They were mysterious bugs that comprehended the domain of gods and disintegrated divinity. They stole god nations without anyone knowing. They could even enter the virtual world and turn into viruses to steal many things. Of course, Zhongli didn't have the ability to put them into the virtual world of the Immortal Tower starfield. The system was too powerful, even surpassing the will of the immortal world. Even if the bug race, which could kill gods, entered it, they would die. In history, many bug races had invaded the Immortal Tower system in an attempt to steal endless knowledge and wealth, but they had all failed. Countless broodmother nests had been destroyed or captured. As the two strongest sacred lands, the systems of the Immortal Tower and the universe's brain star field couldn't be invaded. They seemed to represent the yin and yang of the 3D universe. One origin gave birth to yin and yang. Yin and yang gave birth to the 3 talents, and the 3 talents gave birth to all things. The entire 3D universe was like a taiji, and the universe's brain and the Immortal Tower starfield were the 2 points of the taiji. Ha! It was originally impossible for me to condense 15 grand Taos. No matter how many resources I had, the pinnacle of the grand Taos was extremely difficult. Every additional grand Taos meant more danger. But with the divinity, especially the martial world's god, the grand Taos and grand Taos were extremely harmonious. They wouldn't clash. Wu Jin laughed maniacally again. Jiang Li's Yi Jin saw the embryonic form of the 16 grand Taos slowly condense inside his body. The materials he brought with him were not only for the formation, but also for his own cultivation of the Great Path. For example, the martial world's celestial martial stone, spirit metal, great Tao divine jade, and cloud chi of the 9 heavens. These things were very useful for the cultivation of the laws of nature and the Great Path. Some could even automatically generate laws of nature. Crack! Wu Jin had successfully cultivated all 16 great Taos. He had cultivated a total of 2 great paths in this place. This was simply a rare speed. Normally, when an expert like him wanted to successfully cultivate a great path, he would have to be very careful. He would have a slim chance of survival, and he would have to undergo a life and death seclusion. He cannot be disturbed by the outside world. Moreover, there was only a 1/10 chance of success. It would take hundreds or even thousands of years. The more great Taos there were, the more dangerous it would be to advance. It would be even more difficult. Therefore, many experts will be unable to advance after reaching a certain level. They could only stay at that level forever and die of old age. Even the lifespan of a god was very short compared to the entire universe. After an unknown amount of time, Wu Jin suddenly shook again. He had successfully cultivated the 17th Great Tao. His body was immersed in the perfect wriggling. He seemed to have forgotten all the movements in the outside world and did not pay any attention to Zhongli. And Zhongli's Yi Jin quietly looked at the sky. In the depths of heaven's will space, the martial god's corpse was rapidly disintegrating. With Wu Jin's help, the martial god's corpse disintegrated very quickly. It was not that Wu Jin was very powerful, But because Wu Zhen was from the martial world, the divine aura in the martial god's corpse resonated. This way, the martial god's corpse felt that it could pass on its power and no longer resist the refinement. The stronger Wu Zhen's cultivation was, the more he helped Heaven's will to refine the god's corpse. Vaguely, in Heaven's will space, the god's corpse was disintegrating at an accelerated speed, turning into all things. At the edge of the cultivation world, large amounts of land, oceans, and mineral veins formed again. Continents. Each continent spanned several light years. Back then, the star fields and spirit stone planets formed by the three gods' corpses were about tens of thousands of light years. Now, the cultivation world only spanned several hundred light years. However, with such a large area, even if the number of humans increased by 10,000, they would still be able to survive. Of course, if the entire human race wanted to advance, there would not be enough resources. After all, the difference in resources between a normal person and a saint was like heaven and earth. Forget a saint, even a meditative level expert would consume a lot of resources on a planet. Great Tao experts would consume even more. Back then, the cultivation world could not produce a single great Tao expert. That was because of the restrictions of the cultivation world's Heaven's will, afraid that the appearance of a great Tao expert would shake the world's origin. Now, there were very few great Tao experts in the entire world. In the universe, for cultivation, resources were everything. In the depths of Heaven's will space, Jiang Li's soul fire was with Heaven's will, working together to refine the martial god's corpse. Suddenly, the young man of Tianyi opened his eyes. It's time. We can raise this person's cultivation to the limit in one go and then modify him. The perfect aura of the martial world on him will be recognized by the martial world at a deeper level. We can then bury the best chess piece in the depths of the martial world. All right, let's begin. Jiang Li nodded. His soul fire also expanded, wrapping around the huge martial god's corpse. Suddenly, the inside of the martial god's corpse began to explode. Buzz, Wu Zhen, who was in the formation below, sensed it, and his body expanded. In just a moment, 18 of the 17 great Tao had been successfully condensed. Then he stood up, his eyes shining brightly, as if he was about to condense a virtual godhood. The cultivation technique he cultivated used 18 great Tao as the foundation to condense a virtual godhood. In other words, he could no longer condense 19 great Tao, because in the beginning, he had already chosen 18 great Tao to form a virtual godhood. If he wanted to choose something else, he would have to get rid of the remaining 18 great Tao and start from scratch, which was absolutely impossible. But Jiang Li's infinite great Tao was different. He was not in a hurry to cultivate a great Tao. But just like that, there were endless possibilities for development in the future. The Grand Emperor Saraira was even more incredible, containing thousands of different great Tao cultivation techniques. The mere thought of combining thousands of great Taos was terrifying. At the very least, Jiang Li didn't dare to imagine how it had been done. No wonder the Grand Emperor Saraira hadn't been destroyed by the third-dimensional universe. It definitely deserved to be called Monarch Godhood. I finally completed 18 great Taos. Now it's time to form virtual Godhood. Wu Zhen looked over at Jiang Li as Eugene and said, "Brother Eugene, you didn't lie to me this time. However, I already have control of this formation, and since you're the queen of the insectoids, why don't I put you in it?" "What are you doing?" Jiang Li, as Eugene said, putting on an expression of displeasure. "It's nothing. You're an insectoid, so how could I possibly trust you? All the worlds in the universe, even the demon world, hated the insect race. No one had a good impression of the insect race. If this world was divided into 3 camps, evil, neutral, and good, then the insect race did not belong to any camp. They were despised by all living beings. I never believed you from the beginning." Wu Zhen reached out toward Jiang Li as Eugene. "You're the queen of the insectoids. I'll capture you, assimilate the brood mother, and steal the Tao of heaven. In the blink of an eye, I'll be able to control the essence of the cultivation world. During the process, I established a connection with the corpse of the martial world god, and it'll bless me and make me stronger. You're too arrogant. People from the cultivation world are too arrogant. I can't believe you profaned the corpse of the martial world god. As a member of the martial world, there's no way I'll let something like that happen. Just as I thought. Jiang Li, as Yi Jin laughed. Just as I expected, you fell out with me. It looks like you're the one who didn't abide by the agreement, not me. In that case, I won't have the reputation of being a treacherous person. The essence of the cultivation world, heaven's will, bless me. Rumble. The entire cultivation world was shaking. It seemed that all the power was concentrated on one point. Infinite heaven's origin. Jiang Li, as Yi Jin pointed, and Wu Zhen couldn't bear it at all. He was immediately pressed to the ground by a great force, unable to move. In the cultivation world, when Jiang Li used infinite divine fist, the most powerful move was infinite heaven's origin, because the place he hit was the real heaven's origin. Jiang Li's finger was equivalent to concentrating all the power of the cultivation world into one point. Who are you? Even though he was an expert with 18 great paths, Wu Zhen couldn't get up at all. He was in despair, knowing that the Yi Jin in front of him was definitely not a simple character. Me? I am a master of the cultivation world. Jiang Li smiled. All of you have invaded my world, so I naturally have to set up all kinds of traps to deal with you. Now, you will become my loyal servant, and no one will be able to tell. No. Wu Zhen knew that things were not good. His soul was about to fall, and he suddenly chanted a long incantation. Great martial world's will, I sacrifice myself to break the bindings. He actually made a prompt decision to sacrifice himself to summon the martial world's will. What a prompt decision, as expected of an expert in the martial world. Fortunately, I was prepared, otherwise I would have died with you. Jiang Li was shocked. When Wu Zhen encountered danger, he immediately sacrificed himself and was ruthless to himself. This was in line with the essence of martial arts. He waved his hand, and many insects appeared out of thin air, rushing into Wu Zhen's body, immediately interrupting the sacrifice. Then, the densely packed insects seeped into Wu Zhen's body. Wu Zhen was quickly devoured by the insects, and then his body changed, returning to his original appearance. He was tall, his palms were wide, and his eyes were sharp, almost as if they could pierce through the endless void. However, his body was now motionless, and he was in a daze. He was controlled by Jiang Li. Soon, Jiang Li would change his way of thinking. Chapter 634. Wu Zhen can't accept this. I really can't. I can't accept being someone's puppet. I don't want to change my view of the world. Wu Zhen's original name was Wu Zhen. Jiang Li didn't simply treat him as a puppet, nor did he enslave him. Generally speaking, he didn't enslave him. Instead, he changed his view of the world, causing his way of thinking to undergo a profound change. He made him believe that his own set of order, the establishment of a human world, was the true way of the king. The immortal Tao and martial Tao were all human Tao. The human world was the largest world, the number one world. In a myriad worlds, it was the true foundation. Human world, human Tao. Heaven and earth are evolving. When all things evolve to the highest stage, they will become humans. Humans aren't restricted to certain genes. Humans are a way of thinking. Equality, love, order, morality, strength, self-confidence, transformation of everything, fearlessness, mutual help, harmony of heaven and earth. This is human Tao. Such people are the masters of the multiverse. They can maintain the normal operation of the universe. Humans are the maintainers of the heavenly Tao. Building the human world is something that can't wait. Jiang Li was instilling his will and view of the world. He knew that what he wanted to do was to establish the foundation of heaven and earth. Even for immortals, demons, and martial gods, the foundation of development was people. Without people, there was no need to mention anything. People could develop into limitless possibilities. Where there were people, there was limitless. This was the infinite human world. Suddenly, his theory matured. His sixth law, the human law, was perfected. His seventh law, the struggle law, was also wriggling. It seemed like it would condense into a real form in an instant. Now his infinite great Tao laws were void, life, oblivion, fate, the center, the human world, and struggle. They were almost perfected, but what was different from others was that his laws could change at any time. He could condense more runes. This was something that other people's cultivation couldn't compare to. For example, when his emptiness law started to condense, there were 8 million runes, but as time passed and he comprehended more and more the essence of emptiness, the runes began to change again, and there were more than 10 million runes. As for others, they couldn't create their own laws. They could only cultivate according to the footsteps of their predecessors. They couldn't change it at all. Once they did, the energy would lose balance. Bang! There was a loud explosion. He was changing Wu Zhan's worldview with his own worldview. Gradually, Wu Zhan accepted Jiang Li's worldview and was successfully brainwashed. This was a change in his own thinking, and it could not be said that he was being brainwashed. Rather, it was Jiang Li who instilled the correct knowledge into him, and they built the human realm together. All of a sudden, Wu Zhan's aura became completely different. His aura, which had originally been sharp, became gentle. His ambition, which could devour the heavens and earth, was hidden within. When Jiang Li saw the changes, he immediately said, "Brother, you've comprehended it. Very good. Let's build the human realm together." Human realm, this idea is indeed not bad. After Wu Zhan was forcefully brainwashed and changed his worldview, he seemed to have become a different person. There were no signs of slavery on his body, but it was his own thoughts that had changed. If his body was enslaved, then the martial world's heavenly will would definitely be able to detect it. However, his thoughts had changed on their own. Even the strongest existence would not be able to detect it. Wu Zhan became a person who shared the same ideals and goals as Jiang Li. He was a person who fought for mankind and the human realm. From now on, he could be an important chess piece in the martial world. It should be known that originally, he was only an expert with 14 great paths. Now, he had actually cultivated 4 great paths in one go, becoming a person with 18 great paths. His status in the martial world had suddenly increased by many times. Then go back to the martial world's camp and think of a way to contribute to the cultivation world through the great calamity. Jiang Li waved his hand. Wu Zhan flew up and disappeared into the boundless horizon. He went back to manage various things. Now that he had returned to the martial world's camp, he could obtain a very high status and resources. Moreover, now that his spirit was communicating with Jiang Li, he could let Jiang Li know a series of things in the martial world at all times. The Great Formation has been formed. The Mother Nest has been promoted. After Wu Zhan left, Jiang Li flicked his finger, and the Great Formation in front of him condensed, turning into a small bug that appeared in his palm. This was a mysterious bug that the Mother Nest had promoted. Jiang Li brought the bug to the depths of the Mother Nest on planet Infinity. He saw that the Mother Nest was still devouring the Master God's AI, but the two were still unable to merge. Mother Nest's AI, start the promotion. Transform into a 6 tribulation bug. Jiang Li shot the bug out of his palm. Immediately, the Mother Nest's AI expanded and devoured the bug. This bug was formed from all the materials that Wu Zhan had brought with him. It possessed a mysterious power. The resources that Wu Zhan had brought with him were all good stuff that couldn't be found in the cultivation world. Originally, the 5 tribulation Mother Nest was already very strong. But with the addition of this bug, it immediately began to transform into a 6 tribulation Mother Nest. The 6 tribulation Mother Nest was indeed different. During the promotion, the countless tribulation bugs transformed into data and entered the Master God's AI. Within the depths of the Master God's AI, a kingdom of heaven appeared. It was vast and boundless, and in the depths of the kingdom of heaven was an angel. The angel had countless wings, and as they flapped, they would unleash a tempest of information. All of the calculations came from this angel. This angel contained the most profound secrets of the angel race. Perhaps the Master God's AI wasn't very powerful, but it was the most mysterious and profound of all. Although Zhongli had 100% control over the AI, he still didn't understand its deepest secrets. But now, things are different. The bugs in the mother nest transformed into data, burrowing into the kingdom of heaven and attacking the angel. The angel trembled non-stop as the bugs devoured the light. The bugs of the sixth tribulation mother nest were shockingly powerful. There was nothing they couldn't devour. They devoured data and weakened the photonic computers. At this time, Heavenwell knew that this was a critical moment. He transformed his will into data and sent it into the Master God's AI, soul flame. Zhongli wasn't willing to be outdone. Pushing his cultivation base to the limit, he drew on his Grand Emperor Saraira in an attempt to melt the angel. However, the angel seemed to know that it was in danger. A scepter suddenly appeared in its hand, which blocked all of the incoming attacks and pulsed with primal chaos energy. The staff of the prophet. That's the aura of the staff of the prophet, Heavenly said. That's the aura of the staff of the prophet. The staff of the prophet is a pre-heaven treasure similar to the halberd of the ancient chaos era. It's obviously connected to the staff of the prophet. It'll be very difficult to destroy, but with the halberd of the ancient chaoses, I can use primal chaos to destroy primal chaos. Crash. Boundless amounts of data transformed into the halberd of the ancient chaoses, which appeared in the data core of the photonic computer. Heavenwell's halberd of the ancient chaoses had destroyed the staff of the prophet with a single blow. That was the power of the halberd of the ancient chaoses. Without the halberd of the ancient chaoses, he wouldn't have been able to assimilate the photonic computer and seal the staff of the prophet. Eventually, the photonic computer of the Lord God shattered, but the data remained intact, as well as the secrets of the angel folk. Zhongli could sense that in the moment the angel exploded, he had acquired a passcode to another dimension. It was the most mysterious of dimensions, the light dimension. According to the rumors, there was no darkness or shadow there, only radiance and light. That was where the angels lived. Only in the light dimension could the eternal well be found, and in the depths of that well was primal chaos paleo energy. All right, I finally know the passcode to the light dimension where the angel folk live. Zhongli had killed many angels in the past, including ancient ones. However, most of them lived in the third dimension in their base of operations. Angel kings, angel emperors, and other ancient angels lived in the light dimension. Just like that, the photonic computer of the Lord God vanished, having been absorbed by the broodmother to form a new photonic computer. Radiant Bug King Monarch. Zhongli digested the data, and a new core appeared in the depths of the broodmother. It was none other than the queen's evolved form, the Radiant Bug King Monarch. Any insectoid that roamed the universe could absorb the power of civilization and evolve into a different form. For example, the broodmother had just absorbed the photonic computer of the prophet and had become a Radiant Bug King Monarch. Originally, Zhongli had transformed the mother nest into a defensive type. Among them, there were prayer bugs that had turned into countless protective lights. Now that the queen mother had become a light bug monarch, the power of prayer had become even more abundant, and the protective power had become even stronger. Planet Infinity underwent another transformation. It was now larger, and layers of radiance and light condensed into holy stones, turning the entire planet into a sphere of light. Originally, Planet Infinity had been inhabited by many people. But later, because the cultivation world had stabilized, they had all moved out, and Planet Infinity had become a research base and a place where photonic computers stored information. But now, Planet Infinity's radiance had completely replaced the sun's position, becoming the source of humanity's energy. In addition, it had the ability to create a final chance for humanity to escape, store data, and preserve the spark of civilization. If the cultivation world was destroyed, Planet Infinity would shatter the void and disappear without a trace. It wouldn't take the humans with it, but it would take their data with it. When it reached a safe place, it would use the data to replicate the humans. There was no other way around it. This was the plan agreed upon by all of humanity. It was also humanity's last chance. Although if the cultivation world was destroyed, it would be difficult to preserve the spark of civilization. There was still a 1 in 10,000 chance. Buzz, finally, the brood mother and the photonic computer of the Lord God successfully fused. The brood mother was Jiang Li's clone, and the photonic computer of the Lord God was also his. With the success of the fusion, Jiang Li's strength had greatly increased, especially his soul fire. His soul fire had increased from 11,000 dimensional units to 12,000, which was equivalent to an expert of 12 grand hours. Chapter 635. His mental power of 12,000 dimensional units was simply terrifying. He could suppress most of the experts with this mental power alone. He could even defeat some of the bigwigs in the Immortal Worlds camp. But this bit of psychic power was far from enough. It couldn't even compare to hallucination. Hallucination was an expert with 3 grand hours, but his psychic power was 20,000 dimensional units. That was equivalent to an expert with 20 grand hours. He could easily kill Jiang Li. Jiang Li still had to continue comprehending the laws to perfect the infinite Tao and strengthen his psychic power. Furthermore, he was able to obtain a lot of information from hallucinatory. Apparently, he had the vague feeling that the enlightenment of the 8th magical law lay in hallucinatory's body. That was because this woman had an enigmatic shadow and was very helpful to the infinite great Tao. What was infinite? It was something that could never be seen through or seen through. What was that? That was a mystery. Just like the 3-dimensional universe, this universe was a mystery to any expert. A dense fog, mysterious, profound, and unfathomable. The 8th law should be related to mystery. Jiang Li felt that he should go see hallucination, not as Yi Jin's clone, but as Jiang Li's main body. Yi Jin had already left Hallucination's team and had even gone to snitch. They had basically become enemies. Hallucination wasn't in the cultivation world at this moment, but on a strange planet at the core of the Milky Way. This was a neutron star with an unimaginably high density. It was also one of the most terrifying substances in the universe. Even experts at the Grand Tao level would have to stay far away from neutron stars when flying through the universe. Once they got close, they would be sucked in. There was no way to escape, and even their souls would be crushed. The density of neutron stars was very high. This was common knowledge back when Earth was still a country. However, this kind of thing was also a good material for real experts to refine magic treasures. This was because neutron stars had a strong gravitational force, and the internal temperature was very high. It could melt anything. If it was stored in space and suddenly released, it could shatter everything. Hallucination and the others were currently on it. They had set up formations that connected to some kind of channel. This was because once the neutron star collapsed, it would form a cosmic black hole. This was the strangest thing. Even experts with virtual godheads would be buried inside if they weren't careful. From this, it could be seen that psychedelia seemed to be looking for an opportunity to open up some sort of passage. Tong Hun and the others also set up around her. They were all very careful, afraid that the attractive force of a neutron star would affect their souls. Woo woo woo. The illusion moved slightly, and a bright light appeared inside the neutron star. It was as if the core was really lit up, and deep inside the light was a black dot. The black dot was like a black hole. This is the passage that I am connecting to our lost lands. When the time comes, there will be an endless amount of power that will be transmitted over to serve as the foundation for our cultivation world's advancement, Psychedelic said. By the way, that two-faced Yi Jin reported us, saying that we colluded with the cultivation world and betrayed the Immortal Tower. Will we be punished by the Immortal Tower? Asked a teammate. Don't worry. The laws and regulations of the Immortal Tower Star Zone are very formal. They won't punish us for leaking information, unless we do something that endangers the Star Zone. So don't worry. Moreover, I have people in this holy land. Psychedelic knew the laws of the Immortal Tower Star Zone like the back of her hand. What we have to do next is very simple. We have to negotiate with Jiang Li again and use him to destroy Prince Tattoo and his gang. This way, we will have nothing to do with it. Instead, we can let the bloodline behind me grow. The moment she said this, the surrounding teammates looked at each other. Only then did they know that the person behind Psychedelic was in the depths of the Immortal Tower. Star Zone was very powerful. He could even go against Prince Tattoo. Since you asked, I will tell you. In the Immortal Tower Star Zone, Psychedelic God of the 108 combat gods is the powerful existence behind me, Psychedelic said coldly. Psychedelic said coldly. That's why I don't care about Prince Tattoo at all. Although he's a member of the royal family and has the bloodline of the Immortal Tower's master, there are too many people like him in the Starfield. Haha. As Psychedelic spoke, a voice rang out. I didn't expect Miss Psychedelic to be the descendant of Psychedelic God. You are also from the Immortal Tower Star Zone. In this case, our cooperation will be greatly discounted. Jiang Li, it's you? Psychedelic waved her hand, and Jiang Li's shadow appeared. Her cultivation level could be seen when she waved her hand. It was a mysterious wave that broke all of Jiang Li's invisibility techniques. Jiang Li had a smile on his face, but he was secretly on guard. Psychedelic's cultivation level was too terrifying. It's you, Jiang Li. Your cultivation level has improved a lot again. It seems that you will be able to fight against me in the next few days. Psychedelic was also very wary. With each passing day, your cultivation level increases a lot. I have never seen someone like you. You flatter me. This time, I came to negotiate with you. I want to see what methods you have to help our cultivation world advance, Jiang Li said. Psychedelic laughed. Jiang Li, you hit it well. I already know that there are corpses of gods in the cultivation world. After you obtain the corpses, you have been refining them continuously. You are stalling for time. Yi Jin has already seen through this. Now, I also know your secret. What? Jiang Li pretended to be shocked. You guys actually know about this secret? Who is the one who spread it? The cultivation world is expanding every day. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that there is immortal divinity flowing in it. Psychedelic's body was like a willow tree in the wind, swaying nonstop. I can vaguely feel this. You have a very strong power. You can transport the corpses of gods from the depths of the universe. This must be the function of that great emperor's relic. There are treasures everywhere in your cultivation world. However, you are now the corpses of gods of the martial arts world. The people of the martial arts world will definitely go crazy if they know about this. It doesn't matter if they know. Jiang Li smiled. Right now, the cultivation world is still outside the Milky Way. Those who are too strong can't break through the restraints of the three-dimensional universe to come to our side and attack our world. That's not necessarily true. Psychedelic waved his hand. First, they can cooperate with the people of the Immortal Tower. The power of the second celestial sphere will continue to expand. The next step will be to spread to the cultivation world and eventually cover a large part of the universe. This place will soon become the real battlefield of the myriad worlds. Apart from that, gods will also descend. Once gods descend, the cultivation world will no longer have any hope. More importantly, I know you want to build the human world. However, the birth of such a world will have a very serious impact on the order of the myriad worlds. Moreover, the birth of a great universe requires the fall of another great universe. This is a replacement of the old and the new. Therefore, the newly born universe will definitely be killed by the myriad worlds. You have to understand this. These are all unavoidable. Jiang Li said, with your strength, you can't guarantee the safety of our entire world. Of course, I can't guarantee it. However, the existence behind me, Psychedelic God, also known as the Lost God, can guarantee it. As long as you cooperate with me, with the help of the Lost God, your world will not have any problems in a short period of time. Moreover, it can guarantee the safety of your people, Psychedelic said. Is that so? The Lost God is also from the Immortal Tower Starfield. He is definitely a threat to me. Why should I believe you? Jiang Li was trying to get information out of him. To be precise, although the Lost God is one of the 108 divine generals of the Immortal Tower Starfield, he signed a chaos contract with the master of the Immortal Tower during a battle and is only temporarily serving him. Apart from that, I can tell you many things about the martial ancestor of the human race, Ba Liming. Do you want to hear it? Psychedelic seemed to have grasped Jiang Li's thoughts. As expected, upon hearing this news, Jiang Li's heart was moved. Currently, the human race lacked the strongest expert. If the martial ancestor Ba Liming could return, he would definitely sweep across the world. No one would be able to cause trouble for the human race and the cultivation world. He would be able to win a chance for the human race to develop and survive. Is the martial ancestor Ba Liming suppressed in the depths of the Immortal Tower? Jiang Li asked. That's right. He fought with the master of the Immortal Tower and was suppressed. The master of the Immortal Tower wanted to sign a contract with him, but was rejected. That's why he ended up like this. However, his cultivation is very strong and is almost on par with the divine generals. After being suppressed, he can still appear with his projection and resolve the crisis for the human race. He's really impressive. If you want to see him and help him regain his freedom, only the Lost God can help you. The Lost God holds great authority in the Immortal Tower's star field. Psychedelic was also using words to bait Jiang Li. Let's be specific. In short, we can cooperate with the Lost God, but we must maintain the independence and management rights of the entire cultivation world. That's because we humans have a free and independent soul. There's no need to talk about worshiping the Lost God and believing in him. You should understand us humans. Everyone respects the freedom of the soul, Jiang Li said. Once the theory of the freedom of the soul was revealed, the entire human race's thinking had evolved. Now, countless geniuses were emerging. In time to come, it wouldn't be surprising for someone like Jiang Li to appear again. That's not necessary. The God of the Lost does not need faith. For high-level gods, faith is just a burden. Gods of their level are not low-level gods. These kinds of gods rely on nothingness, cut off karma, and do nothing in peace. What they want is to create a kind of momentum and promote the development of a universe. From there, they can obtain the universe, the power of chaos, and the blessing of the supreme laws. Finally, they can pursue transcendence, Psychedelic said. Jiang Li was deeply in agreement with this point. The supreme laws of the universe were some fundamental principles, such as the fall of the gods, the advancement of the world, the destruction of the world, the mutual balance, and the alternation of energy. For example, Jiang Li had promoted the advancement of the cultivation world and caused the fall of another universe. That was equivalent to promoting the metabolism of the entire multivariate universe, which would be of great merit to the multivariate universe. In this way, he could obtain some unimaginable things. Chapter 636. Our God of Lost wants Ba Liming and Wang Chao. Ba Liming is suppressed inside the Immortal Tower. However, the God of Lost is very interested in him, but Wang Chao is the most interested. He has already entered the brain of the universe's star field. This star field is even more mysterious than the Immortal Tower. It is also one of the two holy lands of the universe. What? Jiang Li asked. You know about Wang Chao? I don't. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come to ask you. However, Wang Chao has set up various chess pieces among the humans. You humans have the Wang family. That is Wang Chao's bloodline. We can find out some of Wang Chao's secrets through the Wang family's bloodline. Psychedelic continued. Apart from that, we can also help you humans occupy a place on the myriad world celestial sphere and reproduce. Maintain the purity of your human souls. More importantly, the humans born on the myriad world's celestial sphere have the bloodline of the primordial heavenly king. A long time ago, the primordial heavenly king was the acknowledged leader of the myriad worlds alliance. From this point alone, you humans have great potential. Let's be frank. What do you need to help me with? Jiang Li went straight to the point. If the conditions are too harsh, I can choose not to accept them. Since you know that we have the corpse of God, you should know that we don't need help. As long as we refine the corpse, the world will advance. The accumulated power of the cultivation world was actually very large. After refining the corpse of the immortal world's God, the corpse of the martial world's God was about to melt. In the end, only the corpse of the dragon world's God was left. More importantly, Youth Tianni had already started to evolve. He had grasped part of the ancient Chaos Halberd's power and was invincible. This could become a killing move at the most crucial moment. Think about it. When an enemy was invading, the young man of heavens will suddenly appeared, wielding the ancient chaos halberd and killing everything in his path, turning the enemy into energy and food for the cultivation world. How exciting and wonderful would that be? I will arrange for people to enter the cultivation world and become your management. We, the people of the Lost Lands, will become part of the cultivation world. And the higher-ups know, to be precise, the human world. Psychedelic said, "This includes me. If I join you humans and become a member of the human world, what position will you give me? Moreover, I hope to establish a business company." You saw a business opportunity in the cultivation world. Zhongli frowned. He didn't expect Psychedelic's request to be so simple. It didn't matter if she joined the upper echelons. Even if she became the president, it wouldn't matter. Meng Jiangnan had already become the president a long time ago, but she still had to work for the welfare of the entire human race. The rules of the human race were becoming stricter and stricter. The president's authority had already declined, and he still had to bear responsibility. However, the Human Limitless Group was now the #1 company. Everything was manufactured by the Limitless Group, including the distribution rights of currency. This inevitably led to a monopoly. However, as Zhongli spread the Chaos Primordial Divine Arts financial system, everyone could manufacture currency. This way, the financial system was greatly balanced. If Psychedelic came in and established a company, it would definitely be able to compete with the Limitless Group in a short period of time. This would undoubtedly put a lot of pressure on the Limitless Group, but from a certain perspective, having competition was also a good thing. More importantly, Zhongli felt that his 8th law should be comprehended from Psychedelic. All right, I agree. You can join the cultivation world and become an official member of the human race. Moreover, I will go back and discuss with the upper echelons. Through the decision of the parliament, you can establish a company. Thank you. Does this mean that I can run for the human race's president in the future? Psychedelic asked the most important question. Of course. As long as you become a human citizen and have an identity card, anyone can run for president. Zhongli knew what Psychedelic wanted to do. Although the human president couldn't do whatever he wanted, this position represented the fate of the entire human race. Once he succeeded in the election, when the world advanced in the future, the president would be able to obtain some mysterious recognition from a source. All right, it's decided then. I want to establish a business company in the cultivation world, so I have to transport a large amount of resources in. This will also indirectly create a business boom. Also, the entire Milky Way is very prosperous now. There are experts from all over the world. I feel that we can open the door to the cultivation world and let countless people come to do business. How about it? Closing the country is a hindrance to progress. Psychedelics suggested once again. Hearing this suggestion, Zhongli immediately fell into deep thought. That's right. Psychedelic's suggestion of opening the cultivation world and doing business with all over the world was very tempting. The current state of the cultivation world was to close the country and only focus on development and cultivation. This was actually a deformity. However, completely opening up to the outside world also had a huge drawback. Good and bad people mixed in and experts emerged. Causing chaos in the cultivation world wasn't a good thing. A long time ago, the ancient country of China was a closed country. Many people learned about this period of history and felt that the rulers back then were very stupid. However, when the same situation happened to Zhongli felt that it was very difficult. Opening up to the outside world was good, but the chaos and turmoil it brought was uncontrollable. If one wasn't careful, it would bring about a disaster. In particular, the thoughts of humans on Earth were free. However, after coming into contact with experts from all over the world, their worldview could be distorted. If Zhongli could change Wu Zhan's worldview, others could also change the worldview of humans. Once their thoughts were in chaos, society would be in turmoil and resentment would be born. The world would be destroyed. However, humans were currently working behind closed doors and didn't come into contact with the outside world. Some geniuses couldn't stand out. True experts could only become invincible in turmoil. If this went on, the entire human race would be like the fish in Zhongli's pond, unable to obtain true freedom. In the long run, humans would also lose the motivation to improve. Opening up to the outside world was a double-edged sword. This matter indeed had to be carefully considered and discussed with many people. He had to go back and hold a meeting with everyone to approve it. There were some things that even Zhongli couldn't do alone. However, he could predict that once the world was connected to all over the world and people from all over the world were allowed to enter the cultivation world to do business, the complicated situation would be able to arouse people's desire to fight. Actually, I hope that before the world stabilizes, we can establish a new order, a business center. This is a huge business opportunity and popularity. Psychedelic said slowly, "Look, countless experts in the Milky Way galaxy are carrying many things and exchanging them with each other, forming a huge market. However, this market is in chaos and isn't stable at all. Look, for a magic treasure, people are killing each other, swindling, and doing anything. Everyone wants a safe trading platform. I feel that the cultivation world can completely become such a trading platform. As long as it stabilizes, it can explode on a large scale in an instant." Zhongli was shocked by Psychedelic's idea and grand plan. This was indeed an earth-shattering idea. Right now, the number of experts in the Milky Way galaxy was as many as the eternal sands. All experts needed resources and trade with each other to do business. However, doing business in such a chaotic place basically wouldn't be safe. Good treasures would be snatched away, and good things couldn't be protected. If they could provide a safe trading platform at this time, then in just a day, the cultivation world would become extremely rich. This was indeed an opportunity. If they missed it, then the cultivation world would have to develop for many more years. If they seized this opportunity, then the cultivation world would have the initiative. However, establishing this kind of order required a lot of courage and strength. If it wasn't done well, then the entire cultivation world would collapse. As the saying goes, seeking wealth amidst danger. How about it? I didn't establish a company in your cultivation world for your resources. To be honest, your world is too barren and doesn't have any good resources. I really don't like it." Psychedelic said, "If this market is established, an endless stream of resources will flow into the cultivation world. At that time, everyone will be rich in resources and will receive great training. It won't take long. In just a year, I guarantee that the world of cultivation will become a real dimension. This matter is too important." Zhang Li's expression was solemn. He knew that his decision would affect the life and death of the world. This was a huge gamble. Let's go back and discuss the specifics. This is indeed a gamble. However, from what I've seen, humanity's horizons are too small. Psychedelic said with a very disdainful tone, "Building a cart behind closed doors and locking up the country. What can you cultivate? Not interacting with the 10,000 worlds will forever be petty. As the true leader of humanity, you need to be more broad-minded and bold. As a leader, you need to be careful and tread on thin ice. This isn't just about you, but the life and death of the entire human race," Zhongli said. "Let's go and discuss with the higher-ups." Psychedelic shook his hand and put Neutron Star into his bag. Along with many others, he entered the cultivation world. In the blink of an eye, the center of the human city was called Earth City. It was the political, economic, and cultural center of humanity. The human government and the Limitless Group were all here. Looking around, the cities were all made of energy crystals. It was like something out of a science fiction story. There were teleportation formations everywhere. The air was spotless, and the place was filled with spiritual energy and calming energy. The lives of humans now were worlds apart from those on Earth. Back then, there were many planets, and it wasn't convenient to travel. Many people didn't go on interstellar travel in their entire lives. However, it was no longer necessary now. The cultivation world was many times larger than the solar system. It spanned hundreds or even thousands of light years. The rich landscape was a feast for the eyes. The human cities continued to expand, and the population became denser and denser. In the 2 years that Zhongli had been away, many sects had joined the humans. After refining the god's corpse, even more sects knew that the world of cultivation was becoming a whole, and could not be stopped. Thus, they all abandoned their sects and established their own companies. All the sects and countries were assimilated and accepted human civilization and order. Chapter 637. Open up. We must open up the market and let us humans become a business base. This is a big piece of meat. As long as we open up the market and guarantee order, a large number of experts will flood in. Large amounts of resources will also be used by us humans. Apart from that, we can collect taxes. One day's income is equivalent to a year's worth of our current total taxes. Why don't we do that? But once we open up the market, we humans will face a complicated situation. First, there will be security. Murders and robberies will be endless. Do you think it's worth sacrificing security for the sake of economy? I think this is a training for us humans, the best training. We humans are hiding in the cultivation world. To put it nicely, we're recuperating. To put it bluntly, we're living like princes. Without training, we'll eventually become flowers in a greenhouse. I think we should immediately open up the market and use all our abilities to maintain order. This way, we could train a lot of people. That's true. We are now in a life and death situation. We are born in sorrow and die in peace. If this goes on, there will be more and more experts in the world. We humans can't develop behind closed doors. No matter how strong Zhongli is, two fists can't fight four hands. We still need to improve as a whole. If a few more experts like Zhongli appear, we won't have to work so hard. I don't think there's a need. We should take it slow and steady. Right now, humans are very comfortable. A peaceful life is what everyone wants. Think about it. This is a Pandora's box. Once opened, it will be very difficult to control. Think about it. Who can truly guarantee the safety of society when a large number of experts from the world come in? People will have no way to live, and resentment will erupt. It will destroy the order of our world. That won't happen. We can set up a trading site in the cultivation world. That way, there won't be any problems. I think we should open it up completely and let everyone participate in the trading. Take it slow. Let's open it up for a few months first. Also, this is a good time because those who come to trade are experts with 3 great DAOs and below. I think it's better to open it up. We humans aren't afraid of any challenges. Why can't we improve our cultivation? It's because there are no challenges. I agree. I think we should do it step by step. We can't be rash. Right now, we might not be able to control the situation. Also, how do we advertise? How can you be sure that people will come here to trade if we open up the trading site? Everyone was interested in this proposal. The upper echelons of the human race were not useless. They were experts who had experienced countless battles of blood and fire. They were all proficient in politics and economics. Sure enough, as Zhongli had expected, most of the proposals in favor of opening up the trading platform and turning the cultivation world into a large market were passed. Only a few conservatives felt that it was better for humans to maintain status quo. Everyone, I feel that this matter must be done, and it must be done in a big way. We can pull in the Dragon Clan, and then let the enchanted girl operate it. Dreamkite glanced at Psychedelic and said, Miss Psychedelic can choose our human elites to lead the team and nurture our human team. I believe that with Miss Psychedelic's abilities, she will definitely be able to bring out countless elites for us humans. Of course, I want to open a company in the cultivation world. The name of the company will be Lost Group. Psychedelic said, At that time, I will recruit a large number of humans as members of the company. Then, we can open up various channels in the Milky Way and let people come to our cultivation world to do business. There's no time to lose. If we want to make a decision, then let's do it right away. I feel that we can draw up a detailed plan. We need to plan everything well. Zhongli frowned. There's no need to be so impatient. Humans must have the ability to respond to emergencies. Psychedelic said, Actually, the plan is very simple. You humans AI are already very advanced. In the blink of an eye, you can come up with tens of thousands of plans. Psychedelic agreed with this matter very much. She was very confident that she would be able to fish out a lot of benefits from this plan, because she knew that the descent of the infinite worlds, the exchange of experts, and the establishment of an orderly market, the value of that was simply immeasurable. The number of transactions in the Milky Way every day was an astronomical figure. All right, Let's quickly start this project. Zhongli did some calculations in the depths of his mind. I will divide the cultivation world into a trading area and connect it to many wormholes in the nearby planets of the Milky Way. Under the guidance of experts, humans can go to the Milky Way to train. At the same time, outsiders can enter the cultivation world. However, they must be inspected and shot. I believe that Heaven's Will's defense will be able to resist all of this. Dreamkite was also very confident. Just like that, the general direction of the cultivation world was decided. They gave up on the policy of seclusion and completely opened up, forming a huge, safe trading platform. Psychedelic's Mystery Lost Group was also established. It began to stir up a storm in the Milky Way. Psychedelic's cultivation was indeed powerful. She was equivalent to an expert with 20 great Daos. In the current Milky Way, this kind of cultivation was already world-shaking. Only a few people could go against her, such as Prince Tattoo. However, Prince Tattoo wouldn't interfere with her either. After all, she was one of the 108 divine generals, a member of the Lost God. All the experts of the human race were also mobilized. Even Dragonwa appeared. After hearing what Zhongli said, she also felt that there were benefits to be gained. She immediately strongly supported it and began to publicize it outside the dragon race. She announced that people of the myriad worlds could go to the cultivation world if they wanted to trade. It was absolutely fair, and there would be no plundering or robbing. Moreover, the dragon race would sell a large number of treasures on the cultivation world's platform. This immediately caused an uproar among the experts of the myriad worlds in the Milky Way. Be it the righteous or evil path or the various neutral races, everyone was excited. In fact, many experts had coveted the cultivation world for a long time. However, because the defense of Heaven's Will in this world was very strong, everyone could only watch from the outside and couldn't go in. Now, there was finally a chance to go in and take a look. Everyone wanted to go in. Apart from that, the dragon race's treasures were also on sale. Everyone wanted to go in and take a look. Of course, there was also the martial world's treasures, which were provided by Wuzhen. There were also many people who hoped to trade in a quiet market, so that they wouldn't have to be on tenterhooks. After all, cultivation required a large number of materials. It was impossible for one person to gather all of them, so they could only trade. Psychedelic also took out her own treasures and began to sell them in the cultivation world. Her method of advertising was very simple. With a thought, her mental power would spread throughout the entire Milky Way. As long as it was an expert in the Milky Way, they could receive her thoughts and information. At the same time, they would know what treasures and materials she had. This was the privilege of an expert. The mental power of an expert equivalent to 20 great Daos could sweep through the world. With a sweep of their mental power, they could easily cover every corner of the Milky Way. In a day, the cultivation world built at least tens of thousands of wormholes and teleportation formations in the Milky Way. The mighty torrent of experts from the myriad world were all trying to enter the cultivation world to trade or to take a look. In a short period of time, the news of the cultivation world establishing a fair trading platform spread throughout the world. Inside the cultivation world, many plazas formed and teleportation formations flickered nonstop. Many experts of the myriad worlds entered. In a corner of the plazas, a few experts of the devil world also entered. One of them with a solemn expression said, "I didn't expect the cultivation world to be so generous. They open their market and want to become a trading center. If they really succeed, then their rise will be unstoppable. How do we destroy it? Go on a killing spree? Or lead people to become demons?" Another demon said, "It's not feasible for now. Let's observe the changes." The leader of the demons shook his head. "Look, high up in the sky, there's Heaven's Will watching over any changes. The air is filled with divinity. The cultivation world is already very strong. Without absolute confidence, they won't open their market. We still have to quietly wait for some evil people to destroy the order. It won't be too late for us to act then." That's true. The few devils kept observing the situation. Suddenly, a mental wave resounded throughout the world. "Hello, everyone. I am the cultivation world's Heaven's Will. Welcome to the cultivation world. Next, Each of you will receive a card that can connect to our system. You will have a bank account and can use your divine will to create currency. With this currency, you can buy anything in the cultivation world. Of course, you can also set up stalls here and exchange goods for goods. However, you will have to pay a certain stall fee and tax. Of course, more importantly, if you commit robbery or fraud here, we will definitely recover your losses and compensate you in full. This is our contract. The last point immediately resonated with many people. In the Milky Way galaxy, robbery and murder were too common. Everyone hoped for a safe environment. Moreover, there were many treasures of the dragon race here. The treasures and resources brought by the hallucination were traded here. This attracted many people. Immediately, many people set up stalls here. Some even started to apply to build high-rise buildings, forming a commercial organization. However, if they wanted to set up stalls here, they first had to pay a certain fee. However, they didn't have the human currency and couldn't create it in a short period of time. They could sell their goods, and the major human companies and governments would buy them. Just like that, a commercial flow was formed and the worlds were connected. Of course, at the beginning, there was a lot of chaos. For example, some demons killed and robbed, but they were instantly suppressed. When a few experts from the underworld and the blood demons from the blood world were killed, the victims were compensated, and the order of the entire cultivation world was completely established. The market continued to expand. In the depths of the optical computer on ship Limitless, there were large numbers of users entering at every moment. The amount of money increased rapidly, resources increased, and the heaven's will of the cultivation world was like a raging fire. It's too strong. Every second, the number of users is increasing by hundreds of millions. If this continues, we might not be able to hold on. In the depths of Star Limitless, including Zhongli, the higher-ups of the human race were watching the changes in the cultivation world. This kind of change was both exciting and shocking, because there were large numbers of people entering the cultivation world at every moment. The humans in the cultivation world also started to do business with the people of the other worlds. Zhongli looked at the fate of the cultivation world. In an instant, it had expanded tens of times. However, it wasn't as pure and transparent as before. There were many impurities. This was unavoidable. If the water was too clear, there would be no fish. As for the cultivation world's heaven's will, it had already completely refined the martial realm god's corpse. Now, all that was left was the dragon realm god's corpse. Jiang Li's cultivation also rose along with it. He took a deep breath and felt a vast amount of psychic energy coming from the depths of the heavens will space. This psychic energy fused with his soul fire, and his psychic energy skyrocketed. His mental strength was 12,000 dimensional units, but now it had suddenly risen to 13,000 dimensional units. This was because he was the representative of heaven's will in the cultivation world. If heaven's will advanced, he would advance as well. Moreover, he single-handedly pushed the entire cultivation world forward. Jiang Li, the Great Tribulation will descend soon. Tian Yi from the cultivation world appeared in front of him. He was dressed in white and had an otherworldly aura. No one wouldn't be captivated by his demeanor. I feel it too. The Great Tribulation is unavoidable. Jiang Li was observing the entire cultivation world. Fate energy was surging, flourishing to the extreme. However, a large number of people surged in, mud and sand falling. The fate energy they brought contained karma calamity. This was a double-edged sword. Once the Great Tribulation passed, not only would the cultivation world ascend, but the fate would also be taken away by the Great Tribulation. This was also a cycle. After great chaos, there would be great order. Although I'm heaven's will and have no emotions, just a ripple, I can calculate all things and feel the joys and sorrows of the human world. Tian Yi said, right now, the human world is in a state of chaos. The cultivation world has already broken free from the immortal world's restraints and become the human world. I have the shadow of the immortal world on me. My life is actually closely related to the immortal world. I'm even secretly under its control, but I'm breaking free from its control. When I truly break free from the immortal world's control and sever the immortal world's karma, the immortal worlds will descend in rage. This is actually the greatest tribulation. When that time comes, you must be careful. There's such a thing? Zhongli was shocked. The immortal worlds doesn't accept you? It's easy to absorb immortal qi in the cultivation world. It's because the immortal world has always thought of our world as its vassal. Our current philosophy is to build a world different from the immortal world, the human world. This will cause our ideals to clash with the immortal world, and it will definitely send to tribulation. Heavenly will waved his hand dismissively. This is a test for me. The heavenly will of the immortal world is my father, and sooner or later, I'll have to leave him and grow up on my own. The ideals you've given me have pointed out a path for me. The person I should thank the most is you. We're in the same boat. You carry all of humanity, and we'll help you make the world more orderly and beautiful. Zhongli said, "This is the harmony between heaven and man. Heaven, earth, and man are perfect. The sky is the world's thought, the earth is the world's matter, and man is the world's living thing. Only when the three elements become one can we be invincible." Well said. Look, the humans have 3 more saints who are about to ascend. Tiani pointed. Sure enough, in the human city, 3 powerful beams of light shot into the sky. They were 3 humans who had become saints, and their auras were closely linked. They seemed to be from the same family. It's these 3. Zhongli could tell at a glance that these 3 were experts from the Wang family. Of the 3 kings who had presided over the cultivation world's base, Wang Hui and Wang Xiao. These 3 people from the Wang family had extremely deep cultivation bases. They used to be very powerful figures, but then they fell into obscurity and performed very calmly during the humans' several great tribulations. Clearly, they had been accumulating power. Now that they had come into contact with the myriad worlds, they had gained experience and boundless resources from the trading platform. Thus, they had become saints in one go. Amazing, these 3 actually cultivate the law of Supreme One. Another person appeared beside Zhongli. It was bewitching. She clicked her tongue and sighed. This is a law that has been lost for a long time. Legend has it that there is Supreme One, Righteous One, Pure One, Divine One, One Embracing One, Guarding One, Void One, None One. I don't know exactly how many ones there are, but it's a supreme art that Yuanshi comprehended. One is the foundation, transforming into all things, breaking through all restraints since ancient times, and ascending to a new realm of the great Tao. This law of Supreme One is extremely difficult to cultivate, but I didn't expect these 3 to succeed. People who have cultivated this kind of law can easily defeat and even kill experts of a great Tao. Zhongli observed once more, and indeed, he discovered that after the 3 of them advanced, each of their soul fires had a vague image of a sovereign. This sovereign seemed to be an ancient god, the Eastern sovereign Tai, the highest god. The East was the beginning of all things, the place where the sun rose. Tai was supreme, and Tai was the only one in the world. Once the law of Supreme One was cultivated, it would indeed have earth-shattering power. Saints have advanced. I have to go congratulate them. Zhang Li's body moved, and he had already left the heavens will space, appearing in front of Wang Zhong, Wang Hui, and Wang Xiao. Respected President Zhang Li, are you here to congratulate us for advancing to saints? The 3 experts of the Wang family maintained sufficient humility. I'm here to congratulate you all for becoming experts. Zhang Li was very happy. You can contribute more to the entire human race. Of course, humans are us, and we are humans. Wang Zhong, Wang Hui, and Wang Xiao nodded. We can lead teams to the Milky Way galaxy to fight with experts of the myriad worlds and increase our combat experience. Be careful. Zhongli knew that many experts of the human race had gone to the Milky Way galaxy to fight. Although there were many casualties, many experts had advanced. But overall, humans were still very weak. After all, there are almost no experts of the great Tao among the humans, and in the Milky Way galaxy, there are almost as many experts of the great Tao as ants. Humans still had to cultivate and develop. Humans are still very weak. The head of the Wang family, Wang Chunxiu, was also among them. He had also advanced to saint in 3 months. In addition, Sita Wudi, Walunga, Huayan, and the others had also advanced in 3 months. And Jiang Li's friends, Luohan, Serene, and the others were also about to advance. What humans lacked the most was time. There's also a group of humans. That's the Jiang family. The Jiang family has tens of millions of people. I wonder where they are now. Jiang Li looked at the Wang family and thought of the Jiang family, as well as Jiang Xinyue. He did not know where Jiang Nailin had placed the Jiang family, but this family was definitely developing in secret. Jiang Nailin knew the importance of the race and would definitely gather resources to expand the Jiang family. Jiang Xinyue was a strange woman. He did not know if she had advanced to saint, or had she become stronger. There's a serious gap in human experts. The only true expert is you, Jiang Li, and there's also Heaven's will. There's almost no one in the middle. This is a very serious matter, Wang Chunxiu said. I've thought about this, but there's nothing we can do. Many experts need countless years of accumulation, and they also need a large amount of resources. Jiang Li said, now, what we need to do is to accumulate resources and digest them. After the cultivation world became a market, a large amount of resources poured in every day. However, this is still not enough. We still need to take the initiative to attack, erect the banner of justice, and swallow up some of the weaker evil races. That's also an idea. Our Wang family should take the lead and expand our corporation into the Milky Way. That way, evil races will definitely come to rob us, and we can destroy them as a sacrifice to Heaven's will. The Wang family was determined. Just as they were discussing, the statue in the center of the Wang family suddenly glowed. It was Wang Chao's statue. Jiang Li had an idea. The Wang family was shocked. Ancestor Wang Chao has appeared again. Chapter 639. As expected, Wang Chao's statue emitted a dazzling light that shot into the sky. Jiang Li stared at it, hoping to find some clues. This wasn't the first time Wang Chao had shown his divinity, but this time, the commotion was the biggest. Almost everyone in the cultivation world could see the dazzling light rising from the center and then spreading out. A strong divine aura shrouded everyone's heart. This was the power of a god, and it was the kind of ancient god. Anyone with a slightly stronger cultivation could feel the intense pressure from it. This was a great power that couldn't be resisted. Not only that, but many experts in the distant Milky Way, the solar system, and Earth also felt it. They didn't know what had happened in the cultivation world. However, this power didn't bring about any changes in the cultivation world. It seemed to just be a slight deterrent. However, a voice appeared in Jiang Li's mind. Jiang Li, quickly go to the Immortal Tower's star field to rescue the martial ancestor. You must sneak in and get the Fate Jade Disc fragment while rescuing the martial ancestor. After the Fate Jade Disc broke, it was divided into yin and yang, and was obtained by the Master of the Immortal Tower and the Master of the Universe. This concerns the future of humanity. Whoever obtains the fragment of the Fate Jade Disc will not only be able to control the celestial world, but also refine the myriad world sphere, turning humans into puppets. If we want to control our own destiny, we must complete this task. Jiang Li, after I left, you're the only human who has a chance of reaching godhood. I'm very gratified that you're managing the entire race, but don't be bound by the race. I know that the human race is currently in a state of rising, and there are many tribulations ahead. You want to stay here and wait for the human race to stabilize before leaving, but you're wrong. With you here, the human race will never develop. Your departure will squeeze out the last of the human race's potential and let them make their own decisions. There are more important things in the Immortal Tower's star field than you. That is the future of humanity. This sentence was for Jiang Li to abandon everything and sneak into the depths of the Immortal Tower's star field. Humanity had just started. Jiang Li indeed couldn't leave. There were many things waiting for him. However, as Wang Chao had said, if he did not leave now and waited for humanity to completely stabilize, then the entire race would lose its challenge. Last time, he had resolved the crisis of humanity, but now, humanity could not always rely on him alone. Moreover, going to the Immortal Tower's star field to rescue the martial ancestor and search for the good fortune jade disc fragment were more important matters. He made a prompt decision. All saints and the upper echelons of humanity hold a meeting. Jiang Li's heart stirred, and he made a decision. The light from Wang Chao's manifestation of divinity disappeared as quickly as it came. No one else heard what he said to Jiang Li. It was just the two of them communicating through their wills. What did our ancestors say to you? Wang Chunqiu seemed to have noticed something. There's an emergency, Jiang Li said. His body disappeared and entered the depths of the huge infinity star in the sky. After a while, all the higher-ups of the human race had arrived. However, there was no dragon hua or hallucination in this meeting. It was purely a few internal experts. Even some sect leaders were not present. This was the core. Hua Lu Dao, Dream Kite, Long Yueji, Zi Changye, Zi Piao, Dahe, Hong Heiyu. Everyone, I'm leaving this place. This time, I'm leaving completely, just like how Wang Chao left the human race back then. Jiang Li told everyone about Wang Chao's will. These people were the core and would never betray humanity. They were willing to risk their lives for humanity. Now that we humans don't have any experts, how can you leave? First, Hua Ludao expressed his disagreement. He had cultivated a few laws and was still a distance away from condensing a great Tao. It was evident how difficult it was to cultivate. If not for the infinite world's descent, Hua Ludao could still dominate the universe with his current strength. However, all the experts were gathered in the Milky Way galaxy. He was just a small character that could be easily crushed. I will leave in secret. What Wang Chao said was right. Only when I leave will I be able to squeeze out the last of my potential. Also, I can feel that just now, Wang Chao activated the might of the primordial god, showing everyone that the cultivation world is not so easy to mess with. So, in the short term, no one will attack us. This will buy us a lot of time. Jiang Li said, what Wang Chao said is very urgent. I have to leave. Wang Chao is setting up the big picture. He won't show himself for no reason. Meng Ziyuan said, I think this matter should be settled. However, Jiang Li's departure is a top-level secret of our human race, so we can still set up a lot of misdirection. That's the only way. Dahe and Hong Heiyu knew the seriousness of the matter. Humans indeed need great pressure for 100 flowers to bloom. Everything has been set up. Without Jiang Li, there is still the cultivation world's heaven's will. Zi Changye thought about it. Our safety should not be an issue. Moreover, we need to forge ahead and take the initiative to communicate with the experts of the infinite worlds. Then this matter is settled. Jiang Li said, I will discuss the details. Also, I will definitely leave Infinite's optical computer here. I will also leave the Grand Emperor Relic here. What? You will also leave the Grand Emperor Relic? Meng Ziyuan said worriedly, this is to hide your identity. The Grand Emperor Relic's great dream mystic art can prevent you from being discovered by the people of the Immortal Tower. If you lose the Grand Emperor Relic, you'll be in grave danger. The Grand Emperor Relic is the foundation of my fortune. Without it, I would still be an ordinary high school student. Jiang Li said, since I'm going to leave, I'm going to do it cleanly. The world of cultivation is about to face a calamity, and we need the Grand Emperor's relic to survive it. I'll give it to you now. Meng Ziyuan, only you can receive this divine relic because you're Wang Chao's disciple and you're the president of humanity. After you get the Grand Emperor's relic, you have to be careful. I always feel that this woman is very mysterious, like a riddle. Although she's helping us now, she's very ambitious. I think she might even fight for the position of the human race's president in the future. If you want to snipe her, we humans will have to be the president. I know this. Dreamkite knew that Jiang Li had made up his mind. The Grand Emperor Relic, in my name, has a new owner. Jiang Li produced the Grand Emperor Relic and waved his finger. Psychic power surged, and flames swirled around the relic, filling it with heaven-shaking, earth-toppling power. Then the Grand Emperor Relic transformed into countless illusory images that severed its psychic connection to Jiang Li and fused into Dream Kite. A mighty voice echoed out. Grand dream for 1,000 autumns. What year is this? This voice had once resounded in Jiang Li's ears countless times. But now, it had become Dream Kite's lifebound treasure. The Grand Emperor's relic was like a dream of mankind, a dream of the human realm, passed down for generation to generation, never to be extinguished. Jiang Li had severed his connection to the Grand Emperor relic. Henceforth, his monarch godhood didn't belong to him. Of course, that didn't matter. To him, the Grand Emperor relic had accomplished its mission. From now on, he would have to rely on himself. As for Dream Kite, now that she was in possession of the Grand Emperor relic, she seemed even more dignified and majestic, as though her temperament and destiny were more compatible with the Grand Emperor relic. The aura of a Grand Emperor flickered around her, making her look dreamy and illusory. Her blood seemed to have something in common with the blood of the original owner of the Grand Emperor relic. The Grand Emperor relic. I can sense the boundless god power of the Grand Emperor relic. Dream Kite said, completely intoxicated. My blood is the same as the original owner of the Grand Emperor relic. It's a miracle. That's right, Elder God Dream said. The Dream Sect's blood is deeply connected to the original owner of the Grand Emperor relic. According to the rumors, our ancestor's mother had a dream and gave birth to him. No wonder your surname Dream, Yang Qi said. The last seal of the Grand Emperor relic is the Grand Dream seal. Perhaps it's connected somehow. Jiang Li knew he made the right move. Perhaps the Grand Emperor relic didn't belong to him, but to Dream Sect, to Dream Kite. The Grand Emperor relic fused with Dream Kite's body and started to transform her. Compared to Jiang Li's hands, it was even more mysterious. Jiang Li couldn't figure out the changes. Void Dao, cultivate the void. Dream Paper Kite had been transformed by a mysterious power, and her entire body was covered in runes. Immediately, the magical laws of void, primal space, final space, and tribulation space were all mastered. The four elements were all void. Dream Kite's cultivation became the void. She became a Grand Dao expert. She cultivated the void Dao that Wang Chao taught her. Plus, she controlled the Grand Emperor relic, and her battle prowess increased by many times. Her soul fire was burning, and her blood became dreamy and illusory. Good, very good. Jiang Li clapped his hands. Your bloodline is a perfect match for the creator of the Grand Emperor Saraira. You're his descendant, and the Grand Emperor Saraira will slowly fuse with you. Your bloodline will become even more outstanding than before, and you'll be thousands of times stronger than before. Are you sure there won't be any problems? Dream Kite asked, still a bit uncomfortable. Study it slowly, and you'll discover more secrets about the Grand Emperor relic than me. Jiang Li nodded. I'm sure it'll be much better in your hands than in mine. I'll make good use of it for the betterment of humanity. Dream Kite suddenly changed. Since that's the case, I've made all the necessary arrangements. I'll hand over control of the Infinity Photon computer to you. The human race will depend on you. With that, Jiang Li's body exploded, and he disappeared. He'd gathered all of his will to leave, and hadn't left a portion of his soul fire behind like before. When humanity needed him the most, he'd left. Humanity's struggles had begun. Chapter 640. Jiang Li transformed into Yi Jin and stood on a small planet in the Milky Way galaxy. He looked at the cultivation world from afar and felt a little reluctant to leave. After all, his family, brothers, sisters, race, and hometown were all there. Although the hometown of humans was Earth, the cultivation world had already been established and had become a second hometown for humans. Wherever there were people, there was a hometown. I don't know when I'll be able to return after leaving my hometown today. Looking into the distance, Jiang Li suddenly felt a trace of melancholy in his heart. I don't know what will happen to humans when I return. Will they be more prosperous, or will they already be extinct? Wang Chao was right. I can't always be the ruler of humans and protect them. Humans are free and should be free. He was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he carefully savored this nostalgia. A faint melancholy, but also a trace of relief and determination. Jiang Li felt all sorts of emotions in his heart. It was as if he had returned to his childhood and became sentimental. At this moment, he felt that he was a real person. The meaning of forget emotion was both ruthless and sentimental. When you forget, you are ruthless. When you remember, you are sentimental. The entire Milky Way galaxy shrunk infinitely in his will. He saw the struggle between the 10,000 races. If humans wanted to rise, it was inevitable that they would have to fight against the 10,000 races. The struggle between humans and demons, demons and immortals, ghosts and gods and yakshas, dragons and giants. Under the direction of their own destinies, groups of races and forces played out the joys and sorrows of partings and reunions, blood feuds and gratitude. After the struggle of the 10,000 worlds shrunk, runes flowed out of Jiang Li's body. The struggle in the Milky Way galaxy could be said to be the most complicated. With the celestial sphere as the center, all sorts of conspiracies were being carried out. Jiang Li's runes were the seventh nomological law. The seventh nomological law was called struggle. Struggle included conspiracies, overt plots, hot-bloodedness, insidious cunning, and all sorts of changes in order to win. This was both martial arts and wisdom. Jiang Li had long thought about the structure of the struggle nomological law. Now, this was a catalyst. He watched the struggle of the 10,000 worlds in the Milky Way galaxy and cultivated the struggle nomological law to perfection. The complex will to fight flowed down from the unseen world. After being absorbed by Jiang Li, he condensed the energy and divinized them into runes. In the end, massive runes flowed down like a waterfall, emitting rumbling sounds. There were at least 30 million runes contained within these laws. The runes flowed for 10 days and 10 nights before stopping. Jiang Li had successfully cultivated the seventh law. However, he did not stop. Instead, he continued to cultivate the eighth law. After cultivating the seventh law, his battle prowess had increased greatly. However, this was only a method to increase his battle prowess. If he wanted to hide his identity better, he could not rely on the Grand Emperor's relic. He could only rely on the eighth law. He had already thought about it. The eighth law was called Enigma. He would turn himself into a mystery and combine it with the Great Emperor's dream seal. No one would be able to see through his identity. Emptiness, life, oblivion, fate, the center, the human world, struggle, mystery. These 8 laws slowly enriched the infinite great Tao. In fact, in terms of realm, Jiang Li could be said to be pitifully low. In the current Milky Way, a saint with only 7 maxims was simply cannon fodder. However, his combat power was top-notch. The current power of the infinite divine fist could definitely crush everything. Enigmatic woman, land of lost. Jiang Li secretly prepared everything. God of lost, everything is a dense fog. The soul in the dense fog has no origin. Only a person like a mystery has enough space to change. A cloud of fog surged out from his body. This was the dense fog. The fog was made up of particles, and each particle was a rune. These runes were extremely small, but they were ever-changing. They formed a mysterious color that allowed people to hide in the dense fog. Jiang Li constantly urged his energy to transform into the dense fog. The dense fog was also constantly changing. Sometimes it would show different colors, and other times many incantations would appear. He was comprehending the runes of the enigmatic law. The runes had not yet stabilized, so they were changing. In other words, his enigmatic law had not yet completed its final structure. Bang! After cultivating for a while, his body trembled. The dense fog dispersed, and he regained his clarity. However, his soul fire was shrouded in a cloud of dense fog, making it difficult to see how strong his spiritual energy was. The 8th nomological law, enigmatic law, has made some progress. Although I haven't truly mastered it, I'm not far from it. I still have to go to the Immortal Tower's star field to accumulate more chaos coins and understand more about the God of Lost. Only then can I master the enigmatic law. Jiang Li thought of a good idea. He sent an email to Yi Wuji. About an hour later, Yi Wuji suddenly replied, "Come to the battleship quickly. I have something to ask you." Yes, Jiangli resumed the identity of Yi Jin. Soon, he arrived at the edge of the Milky Way. On the huge fleet of the Immortal Tower, he smoothly entered the battleship controlled by Yi Wuji. "What's going on?" Yi Wuji said. "The cultivation world is so daring. They actually dare to create a trading platform. Who they think they are? Was the primordial heavenly king really alive? Originally, this should have been done by the Immortal Tower. The higher-ups are already furious and are preparing to launch an attack to completely destroy the cultivation world. However, a few days ago, there was a sudden burst of light and the power of an ancient god appeared. We put the plan on hold. Is the information in the email you wrote just now true?" "Absolutely true," Jiang Li's Yi Jin said. "The strongest human, Wang Chao, has appeared. He also brought with him the various powers of the brain of the universe star field, causing the cultivation world to become unfathomable. I suspect that the powers of the brain of the universe star field have seeped into the cultivation world. That's why the cultivation world is so daring to do business with the infinite worlds." He was bragging. However, his bragging was not without reason. Wang Chao had already entered the brain of the universe star field. When he showed his divinity, it might not be without the shadow of the brain of the universe. However, Yi Wuji was already convinced when he heard this. Actually, he had guessed it long ago. Now, it could be said that he had finally received confirmation. Instantly, his expression became abnormally ugly. As expected, this is what we guessed. We originally wanted to exterminate the humans in one fell swoop, but there was an unforeseen event. This way, the experts of the infinite worlds don't dare to act rashly. Are they just going to watch the humans of the cultivation world grow stronger? I also heard that the lost god is behind hallucination. I can no longer enter the cultivation world to spy on information. Otherwise, I will be killed. Jiangli found an excuse. He didn't need to return to the cultivation world. He wanted to enter the depths of the real Immortal Tower star field and find the secret of the martial ancestor Ba Liming. That's right. The one behind hallucination is one of the 108 divine generals of the Immortal Tower star field, the Lost God. His status is far above Prince Tardu. The Lost God only signed a contract with the Immortal Tower's master. His status is high, so we can't offend him. We can't even offend hallucination because this hallucination is his daughter. Yi Wuji said. What? Hallucination is actually the daughter of the Lost God? No wonder she's so powerful. She only has 3 great Tao, but her mental energy is already 20,000 dimensional units. She can go against a supreme overlord who has 20 great Tao. Jiangli clicked his tongue in admiration. This news could be said to have resolved many of the doubts in his heart. You're not bad either. You're not a great Tao expert. You have only cultivated a few laws, but your mental energy is actually 3,000 dimensional units. Theoretically speaking, you can become a genius of the Immortal Tower star field and enter the genius training camp for training, Yi Wuji said. What genius training camp? Jiangli asked. He felt that his opportunity had come. The Genius Training Camp is an organization of the Immortal Tower star field that specializes in recruiting geniuses. All those who enter must have a cultivation level of 3 great Tao and below. Of course, that also includes 3 great Tao. However, these people can all challenge those of a higher level. For example, saints can directly defeat ordinary great Tao experts, such as people like hallucination. Once you become a member of the Genius Training Camp, you can obtain great benefits. In the future, you can even directly become the upper echelon of the Immortal Tower star field and enjoy all kinds of privileges. I haven't been able to enter it, but I see that you're good material. How about I recommend you to enter? Yi Wuji thought for a while. It seemed that this plan had been brewing in his heart for a long time. I don't have such powerful strength. Of course, Jiangli showed an apprehensive look. You could give it a try. Our Yi family also has some disciples who entered the Genius Training Camp. Every major force wants to send their disciples to learn in the Genius Training Camp. Unfortunately, in order to enter the camp, one must go through a strict test. If one's strength is slightly lacking, or if one has no potential, one will be eliminated. Once you enter the Genius Training Camp, you will become a direct subordinate of the master of the Immortal Tower, a member of the Immortal Celestial Army. The Immortal Celestial Army is our Immortal Tower's strongest army. Who knows how many billions of years it has been conquering the myriad worlds. Even the immortal world and martial world tremble in fear at the mention of it. Yi Wuji said, I will help you register now. You can go take the test. If you don't pass, you will lose a path to progress. If you pass, then our Yi family will do our best to nurture you so that you can occupy a position in the Genius Training Camp. In the future, you will hold military power in the Immortal Celestial Army. That way, our Yi family will have a lot of say. I will do my best. But will the test for the Genius Training Camp be inside the Immortal Tower's star field? Will hallucination go? Zhongli asked. Hallucination won't go for now. She seems to have other plans to seize the cultivation world. She seems to look down on the Genius Training Camp and wants to take another path. Yi Wuji said, Of course the Genius Training Camp is inside the Immortal Tower's star field. Although it is chaotic here, because of Wang Chao's appearance, there will be a short period of peace. At least before the next myriad world's celestial sphere erupts, there won't be any big movements. So there is no point in you staying here. Chapter 641. Zhongli finally understood the current situation. Although Wang Chao's appearance didn't bring about any substantial advancement to the world of cultivation, it was still an invisible deterrent. Everyone knew that there was an ancient god in the world of cultivation that could descend at any time. Because of this, powerful experts would have to think twice before dealing with the world of cultivation. Wang Chao's arrival had long been calculated. It was to stall for time and win an opportunity for humanity to ascend. Actually, it didn't matter if Zhongli left. As long as the world of cultivation leveled up, that power could still be transferred to his body, causing him to instantly become thousands of times stronger. If the cultivation world was compared to a company, Zhongli would be the biggest shareholder. After the company went public, Zhongli's value would rise sharply. Besides, what he was doing right now would affect the overall situation of the world of cultivators by planning in secret. How far is this place from the Immortal Tower's star zone? How do I get there? Zhongli asked. Under normal circumstances, even with Prince Tattoo's cultivation, he wouldn't be able to travel such a long distance. The distance between the Milky Way and the Immortal Tower's star field is calculated in units of trillions of light years. Even with any kind of teleportation technology, a god wouldn't be able to cross such a large distance in a short amount of time. However, since our Immortal Tower's star field can come here, we have an absolute method, and that is the universe transfer technique. Yi Wuji smiled. The so-called universe teleportation technique uses the will of the three-dimensional universe as the foundation to carry out teleportation at will. This is because our Immortal Tower's star field is the sacred land of the universe. The Immortal Tower's owner has also signed a contract with the three-dimensional universe's heaven's will. Through a series of complicated rituals and sacrificial rituals, we can launch the strongest teleportation, allowing you to directly arrive at the Immortal Tower's star field. Of course, it's not you that's being teleported this time, but some experts and geniuses. Over the past few months, our Immortal Tower star field has been discovering geniuses among the experts of the myriad worlds. We have recruited a large batch of them and sent them back for assessment. Let's see if he can stand out. Zhongli knew that ever since he had entered the Immortal Tower's star field, Prince Tattoo had gone through many examinations. Each time, a large number of experts would become his disciples. Those who could pass the examinations were naturally geniuses. However, this was only the first round of screening. Next, it was time to discover even more geniuses from the geniuses. Nobody knew what was going on. Prince Tattoo had recruited many powerful disciples in the past few days. From these disciples, they would once again choose the most outstanding ones and then go through another round of examinations. Only then would they be able to choose the true geniuses. Zhongli finally understood. Right now, Yi Wuji was merely recommending him to go to the depths of the Immortal Tower to take the test of the Genius Training Camp. Once he passed the test, his status would be different and he would be able to climb up to the upper echelons. This was also in line with his own thoughts. The Immortal Tower Star Field was the humans' holy land, and there were many experts and deities. After seeing so many experts, it would be very beneficial to his cultivation. Go to the depths of the battleship and assemble now. Yi Wuji said, your microchip has all sorts of information about the genius training camp, so I won't be sending you there. Otherwise, people might be able to use it against you, which would be detrimental to your future development. From now on, we'll use the microchip to contact each other. In fact, it's the same. As long as you pass the assessment and enter the genius training camp, our Yi family will take care of you. Yes. Zhongli looked at the AI chip's message and saw that he had indeed participated in the genius training camp's examination. What he needed now was to go to the teleportation hall in the depths of the mothership. His body moved, and he flew out, shuttling through the fleet of battleships. Because he had the identity microchip, the fleet of battleships here did not attack him. If an expert from the outside barged into the defense circle of the fleet of battleships, all the battleships would immediately open fire. Even the strongest expert would die on the spot. Although the humans had obtained the Immortal Tower battleship, that battleship's technology was not top-notch and could not be compared to the fleet here. Every battleship here was stronger than the one from before. Obviously, Prince Tattoo's status was much higher than that expert with the virtual divine personality. Prince Tattoo was now an expert with 49 great paths, and he had not cultivated the virtual divine personality yet. Back then, that person could not continue cultivating with just over 10 great paths, and could only cultivate the virtual divine personality. Of course, his aptitude could not be compared to Prince Tattoo's. Therefore, the technology of the battleships here was obviously very high. At this point in time, the main function of technology was to jump. Whoever could fly further in the 3D universe would have the upper hand. Although we humans have obtained some battleship technology, it is still like a drop in the ocean compared to the real technology of the Immortal Tower. Zhongli thought to himself, after I enter the Immortal Tower's star field, I still need to steal more technology. At the most crucial moment, I will import it into the humans. Of course, I also hope that the humans can improve on their own and research different technology. Shuttling through the fleet of battleships, Zhongli observed the changes and immediately engraved many blueprints in the depths of his mind. These blueprints were the internal structure of the battleships, and they were the original accumulation of information. After observing along the way, he soon arrived at the interior of the mothership in the teleportation hall. He saw experts coming in one after another. These experts were also wearing the uniform of the Immortal Tower's disciples. Most of them were in the first level of the pagoda, and some were in the second level, which meant that they were official disciples. The first level of the pagoda was the lowest. Zhongli was now an official disciple, and he was in the second level of the pagoda. So many experts. Their realms are very low, but their soul fires are very strong. These are all geniuses in the infinite worlds, and they have to go through tests to be selected. Who is that lady? Zhongli swept his gaze across the experts in the teleportation hall one after another, and realized that these people's realms were not very high. There was actually not a single expert with more than 3 great Dao. However, their personal strength was very strong. Their mental strength and the exuberance of their soul fires could actually be compared to experts with 7 or 8, or even more than 10 great Dao. There were even a few people who were very mysterious. The indistinct pressure that they were born with could even be mentioned in the same breath as a hallucination. Zhongli saw one of the ladies at a glance. She was very familiar, because this lady was Jiang Xinyue. Jiang Xinyue had still been sent into the Immortal Tower's star field. This was a chess piece that Jiang Nailin had set up. Jiang Nailin was also a disciple of the Immortal Tower's star field, but he had turned to the martial arts world, and his personal strength had surpassed 3 great Dao. He was not in the camp of geniuses. On the other hand, Jiang Xinyue was different. If she were to be nurtured diligently, she could become a genius. Zhongli could recognize Jiang Xinyue, but Jiang Xinyue could not recognize Zhongli. The current Zhongli had changed too much. His temperament and soul had undergone a new transformation. He was no longer the same as before. When he had mastered the other fighting nomological rules and started to condense the 8 enigmatic nomological rules, his entire person was like a mist, and people could not see him clearly. At every moment, Zhongli had a new understanding of martial arts and cultivation. There were hundreds of thousands of people gathered in the teleportation hall. Some were in human form, and some were in strange shapes. Zhongli even saw little giants, dragons, and even devils. It seemed that the immortal tower was absolutely neutral and did not reject anyone. Evil, kind, righteous, and selfish people could enter as long as they followed the rules of the immortal tower. Zhongli chose a corner, sat down, and waited quietly. He did not interact with others, nor did he form any cliques. He did not belong to any cliques here. Some experts formed groups of 3 to 5, shouting and yelling. They were very arrogant. There were even some experts who stood opposite each other here. They were ready to fight. At this moment, an extremely strong spiritual wave swept across the place. It was Prince Tattoo's wave. Immediately, the place quieted down. Prince Tattoo had suppressed everyone with his 49 great Tao cultivation. No genius could reach his level. The strongest person here only had 3 great Tao. If 3 great Tao were to really fight against 49 great Tao, then he would not be a genius, but a genius who defied the natural order. Such people rarely appeared. They would only appear in the real calamity. They were the prodigies born from the interaction of several universes. Perhaps if Zhongli cultivated the infinite great Tao, he could kill Prince Tattoo. But now, he was far from that level. Everyone, you have now chosen to sign up for the test of our genius training camp. I will use the teleportation technique to send you back to the headquarters of the Immortal Tower Starfield. Once there, you will have to prepare for the test. Whether you succeed or not will depend on your own strength. Prince Tattoo's spiritual wave battered everyone's minds. I do not wish to explain too much about the genius training camp. You can check on the network microchip at any time. There is more information in the mail. Now that everyone is here, I will start the teleportation. Rumble. Prince Tattoo's words were very straightforward. When he said he would teleport, everyone realized that the third universe's heavens will seem to be fluctuating. Everyone could feel its vastness, majesty, enormity, matchless, and irresistible. If one were to say which heaven's will was the strongest, it would definitely be the third universe's heaven's will. Even the immortal world's heavens will seem insignificant compared to it. So powerful, so strange. The master of the Immortal Tower's Starfield actually signed a contract with the third universe's heaven's will. Only then can he use such a majestic teleportation technique. Zhongli felt the boiling heaven's will. It was a supreme law that he could not understand. He could communicate with the immortal world's heaven's will and the martial world's heaven's will, but he could not touch the third universe's heaven's will. Many experts felt that the third universe's heavens will did not exist. However, when one's cultivation surpassed 3 great Tao, they would feel that the third universe's heavens will was everywhere, observing them in the dark all the time. Once one surpassed 7 or 8 great Tao, they would not dare to go out. Any place in the third universe would restrict these experts. Everyone in the space carrier seemed to have been disintegrated by a huge will and entered another universe. Everyone's bodies seemed to have disappeared, leaving only their thoughts. The next moment, the stars moved. Zhongli felt that he had completely lost his sense of the cultivation world, Earth, and the Milky Way. He knew that this place was at least 10 billion light years away from the Milky Way. That was why his thoughts were cut off. In other words, he had arrived at a foreign star field. He could not even sense Prince Tattoo's thoughts. The teleportation stopped, and the huge heavens will dispersed. Everyone felt that their vision had broadened, and they had arrived on a planet. This planet was actually a world. It was a half-dimension similar to the cultivation world. It floated in the air and looked like a glowing star from the outside. Zhongli looked over and was stunned into a daze. This was because the deeper into the universe, there were densely packed half-dimensions. Some of them were even bigger than the cultivation world. It was unknown how many half-dimension worlds floated in the starry sky. They formed a huge formation, one after another, and formed a tower. This pagoda-shaped star field was thousands of times bigger than the Milky Way. This was the Immortal Tower's star field. In fact, it should be called the Immortal Tower World Group. This was because there were no planets here. They were all half-dimension worlds. Chapter 642. This was the Immortal Tower's star field. Zhongli originally thought that the cultivation world was unique and a unique great world. However, after seeing the number of worlds here, he instantly felt that the cultivation world was also ordinary. However, the cultivation world was unique. After refining the corpses of gods, its source was stable and had divinity. It had more potential than the great worlds here. The great world here was just an independent space without the existence of heaven's will. In other words, there was no spirituality. However, there seemed to be a supreme existence in this star field that was running everything. That was the system of the Immortal Tower's star field. The world that Zhongli and the rest had arrived at was a space at the edge of the Immortal Tower star field. They had not really penetrated into it. Zhongli could not see how vast the Immortal Tower star field was and how many mysteries there were. He only wondered how these great worlds were formed. It was extremely difficult for a great world like the cultivation world to be born. It required all kinds of coincidences. If it was not man-made, how could so many great worlds be gathered together? From this, it could be seen that the master of the Immortal Tower star field had earth-shattering power. Perhaps the immortal world was much bigger than the Immortal Tower star field, but it could not create everything in the third dimension. The three-dimensional universe was a special kind of universe. No powerful existence could appear there. What kind of contract did the master of the Immortal Tower sign with the universe's heaven's will? However, Zhongli was here to look for Ba Liming and the Good Fortune Jade Disk Fragment. Hence, he temporarily focused on that. Everyone, welcome to the Immortal Tower's star field. This is the reception station at the edge. A mechanical spiritual wave began to spread in all directions. You are all here to participate in the genius training camp. You could be said to be geniuses from the infinite worlds. However, you still need to go through the real test. From now on, you have to be prepared to die at any time. If you don't want to participate, you can quit any time. None of the people present said that they wanted to quit. These were all geniuses who had been selected after many rounds of selection. They had seen many bloody scenes. No danger could make them quit. All right, you will take the first test. There will be a wormhole in the center of this place. Once you enter the wormhole, you will appear in a very dangerous place. There are many demons in there. Every time you kill one and offer it to the master of the Immortal Tower, you will obtain points and chaos coins. Remember, that's not the testing ground of our Immortal Tower. It's an abandoned land with primal chaos ancient creatures. Then, a huge wormhole appeared in the center of the battlefield. When you kill enough primordial creatures, you can come out. Your chips will record everything. Also, you are the 598th batch of people to enter the assessment. Inside, you will meet people who have not passed the assessment before. Perhaps they will kill you. Some of them might even be controlled by the primal chaos ancient creatures and sink into the depths of darkness for the rest of their lives. By the time his psychic wave was over, an expert had already rushed into the wormhole with a whoosh. He was incomparably brave and seemed to have absolute confidence in himself. Zhongli was in no hurry to enter. He turned on his chips and connected to the network. He began to search for information about the genius training camp and primordial creatures. In an instant, a large amount of information entered his mind. The network of the Immortal Tower was directly linked to the soul. A person's soul could enter the network and explore the vastness of the virtual world. This system was somewhat similar to a dream. Entering the system and connecting to the network felt like a dream. Zhongli felt that if he spent a long time studying this virtual system, he would be able to improve his understanding of the Great Dream Seal. Right now, he did not have a Grand Emperor's relic or any treasures. He could only rely on himself. Empty-handed, he had nothing to rely on, but he could stimulate all of his potential. Behind the Immortal Tower's star field is an endless wasteland filled with primal chaos waste gas. The so-called primal chaos waste gas is the waste gas left behind after the creation of heaven and earth. This waste gas can pollute the universe. The master of the immortal tower built 3,000 great worlds to suppress the waste gas and obtain great karma. The waste gas gives birth to all sorts of primal chaos beasts, vicious and destructive in nature. Every time you enter the genius training camp, you have to go into the wasteland and kill the primal chaos beasts. Furthermore, the will of the heavens there is very strong, so even if you try to cover it up, it won't work. If someone with 3 or more grand daos enters, they'll explode. That's why only someone with 3 or more grand daos can go in and kill the primal chaos beasts. Thanks to the explanation, Zhongli finally understood how dangerous the trial by fire was. Who would have guessed that there would be a wasteland in a universe with primal chaos waste gas? Primal chaos palea energy was a treasure. Primal chaos waste gas was the source of pollution. The primal chaos beasts that came from the wasteland were terrifying to the extreme and far stronger than ordinary experts of the Grand Tao. Furthermore, they were born with primal chaos nature and weren't affected by the will of the heavens. Therefore, only people with 3 or more grand daos could enter the wasteland. In order to prevent the endless stream of primal chaos beasts, disciples with 3 or more grand daos had to be sent out to fight them. That was the only way to stop the beasts. Brother, are you also looking at the wasteland and the information on the primal chaos beasts? Some people entered the wasteland, while others were like Zhongli, carefully watching and planning before taking action. Others were forming cliques so that they could live longer after entering. A few men and women walked over, and one of them smiled and greeted them. Zhongli glanced at him and realized that he didn't look human. Although he was humanoid, he had a vertical eye between his brows. He was born with it. According to the ancient records, he was from the three-eyed race. The three-eyed race was also a very strong race in the universe. The vertical eye between their eyebrows was not due to a genetic mutation. They were born with extremely strong spiritual energy, and the vertical eye between their eyebrows was formed by the condensation of spiritual energy. Humans of the three-eyed race had never seen them before, but according to the ancient records, their spiritual power was similar to that of a newborn baby. They would be stronger when they reached adulthood, and if they cultivated using secret techniques, they would be even stronger. However, the three-eyed race was neither good nor evil. There were good and bad races, just like humans. Information about the three-eyed race flashed through Jiang Li's mind, and he sent out a psychic wave. These primal chaos beasts seem very ferocious. Our test this time will be very dangerous. That's right. The weakest of the primal chaos beasts are basically equivalent to sages, and the strongest ones are something that even gods can't do anything about. More importantly, there are many of them. Once they come in groups like the bug race. The three-eyed race man said, however, as long as you are strong enough, there are many benefits to entering. Once the primal chaos beasts are killed, a portion of their psychic energy will be absorbed by your AI chip and converted into merit points and chaos coins. Another portion can be directly absorbed by you to strengthen your psychic energy and increase your upper limit. Countless experts want to come here to cultivate. Unfortunately, only people with 3 grand daos and below can enter. In addition to that, there are many powerful primal chaos beasts in the wastelands that we can take with us. Of course, there are many treasures that we can take with us. Those treasures are different from the ones outside. They don't have laws or grand daos, just connate spiritual energy. We can't bring the powerful treasures outside into the wasteland. Zhongli asked. That's right. Our treasures are all acquired and will be suppressed inside. The three-eyed race man said. Fortunately, I left the Grand Emperor's relic in the cultivation world for Dreamkite. Otherwise, I might have been discovered. Seems like there's no gain without loss, Zhongli thought. Let's work together. The three-eyed race man said. I know you're strong. If we work together, we'll definitely get more benefits. We can also guarantee that we won't be killed by the primal chaos beasts. All right. Zhongli glanced at the young men and women next to the three-eyed race man and nodded, agreeing to form a temporary team. Let me introduce you. This is an expert from the Tuyuan race. This is the Shilling race. And this is the Ami race. The three-eyed race man introduced them one by one. They were all from strange races. Some were wandering experts in the universe, and some came from other worlds. In the three-dimensional universe, there weren't many strong people. If one wanted to improve, they had to ascend. However, the experts in the three-dimensional universe had great potential, and many geniuses were born there. So, some of the stronger heaven's wills wanted to guide their experts to ascend. This three-eyed race man isn't a Grand Tao expert, but his mental energy is very strong. Zhongli didn't force himself to see their strength. Spying with mental energy was very impolite, and it could start a war. Everyone had their own privacy, and they didn't want others to see them. Let's go. Let's go. The three-eyed race man was the first to enter the wormhole. Zhongli didn't let his guard down, and he followed behind. They jumped into the depths of the wormhole and immediately felt that they had come to a blurry world. There was fog all around them, and it was sticky. It was about to wrap around them, and it brought with it a decaying power. He immediately used his own laws to keep this decaying power outside. Then he saw that in the thick fog, there were many chaotic beasts, and their ferocious auras were coming from afar. Many disciples were fighting with the chaotic beasts. "Be careful," the three-eyed race man shouted, and he was on guard. He saw a snake-like thing attack. This snake was 10 meters long, and it had claws like a dragon. However, its body was covered in chaotic colored bone spikes, and its eyes were dark red. It was mesmerizing. Bang! The snake moved very quickly, and in a flash, it was in front of everyone. Its claw actually contained martial arts, and it was somewhat similar to the Gale martial god's claw of the martial world. Moreover, this snake's attack was very strong. It was at least a Grand Tao expert. However, the three-eyed race man's body spun, and his palms slashed at the snake's body. Sword chi shot out, and the snake was set ablaze, turning into a ball of flame. Sword light pulsed, and the killing power made everyone around tremble. Immortal Slayer Great Tao. Zhongli was shocked to the extreme. The sword chi that the three-eyed race man had just used was actually Immortal Slayer Great Tao. Chapter 643. That was right, it was the Immortal Slaying Great Tao. Zhongli possessed both the Immortal Slaying Great Tao and the Immortal Ending Great Tao. When they were combined, their prowess was extremely strong. He could casually kill 4 to 5 experts of the Great Tao. More importantly, Zhongli himself had not advanced to the Great Path, so he was not very familiar with the use of the Great Path, so he could not unleash the true power of these 2 Great Paths. Also, these 2 Great Taos were not condensed by him. Using someone else's Great Taos, he could only unleash at least half of their power. In summary, when Zhongli activated the Immortal Slaying Great Tao and Immortal Ending Great Tao, he could only unleash a quarter or even a fifth of its power. However, this man from the three-eyed race was someone who cultivated the Immortal Slaying Great Tao. Of course, this Grand Tao was not completed. According to ancient records, among the Immortal Slaying, Immortal Ending, Immortal Slaughtering, and Immortal Punishing, the Immortal Punishing Great Tao was the king. The Immortal Slaying Great Tao was condensed from 99 nomological laws. It was the same for Immortal Extinguishing and Immortal Slaying. Only the Immortal Slaying Great Tao was condensed from 100 Great Taos. No matter how powerful a Great Tao was, it was impossible to surpass 99. Only the most powerful ancient Great Tao could break through and possess 100 nomological laws. A Great Tao condensed from 100 laws was the king of the Great Tao, the so-called Tao King. Tao monarchs were extremely difficult to cultivate, but once one succeeded, one's future would be limitless. One Great Tao could defeat 10 or even dozens of Great Taos. Jiang Li's infinite Great Tao was aimed at the Tao monarch's path. However, he hadn't even mastered the 8th rule yet. There was still a long way to go, and he still had to search for more. The last rule was especially difficult. When he broke through from 99 to 100, it was equivalent to wearing a yellow robe. The difference of a single step was like the difference between heaven and earth. I didn't expect you to be cultivating the immortal, slaying great Tao. Jiangli sent a spiritual will over. That's right. I've obtained a primordial secret art, the cultivation method of the immortal slaying great Tao. I've already cultivated 95 laws, the three-eyed youth said via divine will. If I slay the primordial beast here and gain psychic power, I'll be able to cultivate 99 laws. Only the last one will be hard to cultivate. Once I succeed in cultivating the immortal slaying great Tao, I'll be able to cultivate 99. That means he can almost defeat experts with at least 20 great Taos. The immortal slaying great Tao, the king of the great Tao, indeed had this kind of ability. 95 laws, and all of them are connected. This person's strength is not below mine. Jiangli was inwardly shocked. He had encountered many fortuitous encounters and managed his entire race to reach his current level of cultivation. Who would have thought that this three-eyed man could stand shoulder to shoulder with him? Fortunately, he was already so ferocious with only 7 laws. He was still slightly stronger than this man. Although the three-eyed race youth in front of him cultivated the immortal execution great Tao, Jiangli did not think much of it. His infinite great Tao would definitely surpass the immortal execution great Tao. This was his unparalleled confidence. Since I can't use the immortal slaying and immortal end grand Tao, I might as well find a chance to sell them to this man in exchange for more items. This man has cultivated the immortal slaying grand Tao and will definitely want to get his hands on those 2 grand Tao. That way, he can sell them for a good price. I wonder what kind of power this man has behind him and if he can afford it. Jiangli thought to himself. Voila, voila. At that moment, more chaos ancient beasts rushed over. This time, they were not snake-like beasts, but many monkey-like creatures. These monkeys were all equivalent to saints. There were no laws or grand Taos in their bodies. They were purely a ball of innate spiritual qi. This was a very mysterious realm. Only chaos ancient beasts could transform like this. A monkey grabbed over, and its spiritual power surged. Its martial arts were profound and had a natural color to it. There was no sculpting at all. It was ancient and simple. This was the basic characteristic of ancient martial arts. Ancient martial arts were not too flashy, and there were few transformations. However, each and every move had a natural aura to it. Modern martial arts, on the other hand, were intricate. They put more effort into the details and sought perfection. Both had their strengths. Jiangli stretched out his hand and used the infinite divine fists move, infinite catastrophe. This was a move with large-scale destruction. When catastrophe descended, the entire world would be reduced to ashes. Immediately, with him as the center, a fist of runic catastrophe appeared. The catastrophe spread out, and dozens of monkeys melted into it. The runic catastrophe was red. It was bright and dazzling. In this red light, no one could resist. Beep, beep, beep. After killing dozens of monkeys, Jiangli felt their spiritual power overflowing and being absorbed into his chip. Chaos coins were created one by one, and his points started to rise. In a short while, Jiangli's account had an additional 70,000 to 80,000 chaos coins and close to 100 points. It seemed like this was the best way to earn money. As he killed these chaos ancient beasts, he advanced and observed the changes of the other geniuses, especially his spiritual power, which was locked on to Jiang Xinyue. Jiang Xinyue was also among the group of geniuses. She didn't say a word. She didn't team up with anyone. She just killed the ancient beast by herself and wandered around. Her body movement was marvelous. She was like a butterfly dancing in the air. Her moves were swift and fierce. She attacked like an army of thousands of men and horses. Her momentum was tremendous. She was invincible. This was an extremely powerful martial art in the martial arts world. Jiang Xinyue did not cultivate a great Tao. She was an ordinary saint, but there were many laws condensed in her body. It seemed like she was also cultivating a very powerful great Tao. However, Jiangli could not tell what it was. However, Jiang Xinyue's combat power was very strong. Her spiritual power had thousands of dimensional units. She could defeat experts of 3 great Tao. As expected, everyone here is a genius. Everyone can challenge those of a higher level, Zhongli thought. ZZZ. At this moment, a strange spiritual fluctuation swept through the entire area. Even Zhongli felt a wave of dizziness wash over him, and he almost couldn't control his thoughts. It was chaos ahead. Oh no, the Chaos Brain Demon has appeared. It's the Chaos Brain Demon. It specializes in controlling the minds of experts. We need to quickly avoid the range of its spiritual attack. What? The Chaos Brain Demon? Why would it appear here? It's a creature from the depths of the wasteland. It definitely shouldn't appear here. Maybe some experts went deep inside and lure the monsters out. Zhongli heard countless spiritual waves. They were all afraid and dodging. Many geniuses in front of him stiffened. Their souls were instantly controlled. They killed their own kind and turned into demons. Behind these geniuses, a huge ancient beast appeared. This ancient beast looked like a human brain. It was as big as a mountain. When it flew to the scene, the ravine on the brain shot out a powerful spiritual wave. It was equivalent to an expert of 20 great Tao. In other words, this Chaos Brain Demon's soul fire was 20,000 dimensional units strong. It even surpassed Zhongli's. Zhongli would definitely not be a match for it in a one-on-one fight. Although there were many geniuses present, how could they kill this Chaos Brain Demon? If it was just the Chaos Brain Demon, it would not be difficult for so many people to kill it. After all, there were hundreds of thousands of geniuses here. The number of people would be enough to overwhelm these ancient beasts. However, there were much more ancient beasts here than there were people. They swarmed over like a tide. They came from above, below, left, right, in all directions. They gathered without any cost. In this place, there was no difference between the sky and the ground. It was just like in space. One could sink down endlessly or fly up endlessly. This was a huge space. Oh no, it's the Chaos Brain Demon. Let's work together and hide far away. Don't fight it head-on. The three-eyed man hurriedly retreated. We're no match for it. If we kill this Chaos Brain Demon, we'll probably pass the test, a woman said. Don't ever think like that. The Chaos Brain Beast is the most terrifying existence among the ancient beasts. They specialize in controlling people's minds and souls, and there's no way to resist them. We're still very weak, and we can't deal a fatal blow to it. What you're seeing right now might just be an illusion. It's best at creating dreams and fog, making us lose ourselves in a mysterious world and unable to free ourselves. The three-eyed man said regretfully, if I can kill it, I can absorb a part of its mind and directly cultivate the rest of the laws to the 99 great Taos. I'm only missing one great Tao, and I'll be able to kill immortals and gods. I'll be able to do whatever I want. Rumble. Suddenly, an expert attacked the Chaos Brain Demon. It was a young man in armor. His eyes shone brightly, and with a slight movement of his palm, lightning crackled and destroyed all evil techniques. He had a vast aura of the great Tao. He had already cultivated 2 great Taos. Moreover, each of his great Tao was incomparably fierce, domineering, and majestic. Wow, this is an expert from the Thunder Realm. He cultivates the legendary secret techniques of the Thunder World, the great Tao of tyrannical lightning and the great Tao of grand lightning. These 2 lightning techniques are directed at the heart and can destroy everything. Furthermore, the laws of these 2 great Taos are formed by the convergence of 99 laws. This person's mental power has already reached 18,000 dimensional units, so he can fight against the Chaos Brain Demon. However, it's still impossible for him to kill the Brain Demon. Now, we'll have to see if there are any more experts coming out to fight, said the man from the three-eyed race. As expected, there are many experts here. Zhongli didn't get close. Although he really wanted to kill the Chaos Brain Demon and felt that he could comprehend the 8th law from it, it seemed that he could only choose to dodge at the moment. Die. Another saber light appeared. It was a woman who attacked. This woman's saber light was even more imposing. With a wave of her hand, the world turned white. This woman was dressed in white with a red ribbon tied on her forehead. Her ponytail made her look valiant and heroic. She wore a pair of white leather boots and had a cold temperament. Swoosh! The saber light slashed at the Chaos Brain Demon's body. A deep scar immediately appeared on the Chaos Brain Demon's body, and a shocking amount of blood flowed out of the wound. This woman was even stronger than the Chaos Brain Demon. Chapter 644. For the first time, Zhongli saw a woman who was stronger than psychedelic. This proved that there were many experts in the universe. He wasn't the strongest genius, nor was he the king of geniuses. The Chaos Brain Demon was sliced open by this woman. The red headscarf woman in white slashed again. This slash was unstoppable. It was like heaven's will. It could destroy one's spiritual will. Even an undying soul would be completely destroyed by this slash. The Chaos Brain Demon was sliced into countless pieces. Immense spiritual power exploded, creating a destructive storm. The red headscarf woman grabbed, and the space-time here collapsed. The spiritual power and soul that exploded, even the Chaos Brain Demon's corpse couldn't escape from her palm. This woman is terrifying. What cultivation method does she cultivate? Zhongli trembled. At this time, the three-eyed man secretly used the vertical eye on his forehead to check the woman's strength. However, the woman suddenly turned around and glanced indifferently at the young man from the three-eyed race. Bang! The three-eyed man retreated. His face was pale, as if he had been hit by a hammer. The vertical eye on his forehead split open and blood flowed out. Luckily, this woman only punished him slightly. Otherwise, the three-eyed man would have died. Zhongli immediately clapped his hands and injected gentle spiritual power into the three-eyed man's body. He immediately healed his injuries. The three-eyed man circulated his soul fire a few times to stabilize his injuries. He was very grateful to Zhongli. Brother, thank you. I didn't expect your spiritual power to be so thick. You hid your strength. If you hadn't healed me, I would have been in danger. It's fine. We can only survive in such a dangerous environment if we work together. Zhongli waved his hand. However, you have to be careful. You've actually grasped the ancient, immortal-slaying Great Tao, and you're about to successfully cultivate it. If you fall into the eyes of evil people, you're probably a piece of juicy meat. Brother, are you not interested in the immortal slayer Tao? The three-eyed man asked curiously. Actually, that was the best time to kill me. Me? Although the immortal slayer Tao is the king of the Tao, I created my own Tao with all my heart. I definitely won't give up on my Tao. Zhongli said proudly. There was a sense of pride in his chest. You're a genius. The three-eyed man patted Jiang Li's shoulder. I, Hua Xianzhu, have made friends with you. Your real name is Hua Zhu Xian. Jiang Li's psyche wave spread out. Your surname is Hua? He remembered that in ancient Huaxiao legends, there was a god called Huaguang Emperor who also had 3 eyes. Could he be an ancient god of the three-eyed race? Rumor had it that everyone with the surname Hua was his bloodline. Our Hua clan has a very high position in the three-eyed clan. We have the king's bloodline. One of our ancestors also has a very high position in the Immortal Tower Starfield. He is a person with real power. As long as I pass the assessment this time, I will definitely fight for more benefits for you after I get out. Hua Xianzhu said, Come, let's work together to kill more chaos beasts. Zhongli nodded happily. If Hua Xianzhu had a powerful force behind him, then things would be easy. He could sell his immortal decapitation and immortal endaos for a good price. But he didn't say it now. He wanted to observe Hua Xianzhu first, in case the three-eyed race of the Hua clan wanted his treasures. He wasn't afraid, but he was afraid that it would cause trouble and expose his identity. Don't have the heart to harm others, but guard against them. Roar! Another group of monsters charged over. This group of primal chaos ancient beasts were all fierce and fiendish. They had wings on their backs, and they looked like yikshas. Their fighting strength was extremely strong, and more importantly, they could even use great formations. Be careful. These are the primal chaos ancient beasts, heart-stealer beasts. There's no need to talk about how strong they are. Moreover, they can form all sorts of grand formations. It's rumored that they're the ancestors of formations. At that moment, tens of thousands of heart-siphoning beasts had gathered together to form a grand formation. A vortex appeared on the Grand Formation, which looked like a silver disk of the Milky Way galaxy. As they charged forward, they shot out balls of light that were like shooting stars, filling the sky with a meteor shower. Jiangli slashed out with his palm, scattering the meteor shower. His body went numb, and he felt like his true chi was dissipating. In this wasteland, even the weakest ancient beast was equivalent to a saint. Now that tens of thousands of heart-stealer beasts were gathered together, it was like tens of thousands of well-trained saints had formed a formation. Even Jiangli wouldn't be able to withstand such power. After all, they were saint-level ancient beasts. Even though saints were no longer considered, much as Jiang Li's cultivation level had increased, they were still saints. They were the experts of the world and the foundation of cultivation. The meteor shower formation shattered Jiang Li's group. Fortunately, the three-eyed race's Hua Zhu Xian seemed to trust Jiang Li a lot and tried his best to get close to him. In the end, the two of them joined forces and hid in a corner, far away from the destructive power of the heart-seizing beast formation. "Brother," Hua Xianzhu said, "the heart-stealer beast formation is hard to break. But if we do, they won't be able to work together. Do you have any good ideas? Let's give it a try." Jiang Li felt the need to let Hua Xianzhu know his true strength. "I've already started calculating, and I can see that there are some flaws in the formation." Originally, there shouldn't be any flaws, but when they were attacked by our disciples, it became sluggish. "I'll seize the opportunity." "Are you serious?" Hua Xianzhu didn't believe him. As soon as he said that, hundreds of genius disciples suddenly formed a large team and attacked the tens of thousands of heart-seizing beasts. They shot out a bright beam of light that bombarded the formation, causing it to freeze for a moment. Good chance. Jiang Li moved and disappeared into thin air at an unbelievable speed. Even Hua Xianzhu didn't know how he left. The movement technique that he was using was the infinite time and space that he had just comprehended from the infinite divine fist. In other words, time and space could not obstruct him at all. When this movement technique was used, any expert would be dumbfounded. It turned out that speed could be used to such an extreme. After Jiang Li charged into the Great Formation, he saw a dense horde of heart-snatching beasts inside. Out of every 1,000 heart-snatching beasts, there was one general. Their cultivation was very strong, equivalent to an expert with at least 3 great Daos. Wang. Without a word, he used the infinite godly fist. The 16th move of the infinite godly fist was used. It stacked on top of each other, blossoming from the center. From the infinite origin to the infinite time-space, it suddenly exploded. Instantly, thousands of ancient beasts were turned into ashes. Jiang Li absorbed the spiritual energy of these ancient beasts, pushing his cultivation level to the peak. Flourishing immortal splendor. His chaos coins increased by hundreds of thousands, and his merit points broke through the 1,000 mark. The formation immediately collapsed and lost its balance. Infinite Devour. He used the infinite godly fist Devour ultimate move and ran all over the place. He started to take advantage of the collapse of the heart-stealer beasts to kill them. Many black holes appeared around him, and those heart-stealer beasts were all pulled into them. He felt waves of mental strength being refined and turned into flames, merging into the depths of his soul fire. In a short while, his mental strength actually increased by more than 100 dimensional units. This was to increase the upper limit, not to make up for his losses. It was very difficult to increase the upper limit of one's mental strength, and it was not something that could be achieved by simply killing and devouring. However, this was different from the situation outside. This was an abandoned land, and those ancient beast bodies contained an innate spiritual light that could slowly increase a person's cultivation base. Once the formation was broken, many experts surrounded and started to kill, harvesting the heart-stealer beasts. And after Jiang Li ate the big head, his body slightly collapsed, and he disappeared without a trace. "Brother, this is your true strength?" Hua Zhuxian was completely shocked. "It's just so. Jiang Li casually said, "The killing of the heart-stealer beasts is of no value to me. I have to go kill the weaker chaos brain demons. There were strong and weak chaos brain demons. The one that the girl in the white dress and red scarf killed just now was the strongest among the chaos brain demons, and there were definitely some weaker chaos brain demons. Zhongli wanted to find them, kill them, and absorb their will. He would definitely be able to further condense his mental strength, soul, dream realm, and enigma. He found that this was indeed a good place. The eighth law, enigma, would be condensed here. Once he had mastered enigma, he would not have to worry about others discovering his true secrets, and his strength would also increase greatly. I do know where the chaos brain demons gather, but we have to go very far into the wasteland. It's very dangerous, and the chaos brain demons are one of the most ferocious ancient beasts. If we go alone, it might be dangerous, Hua Zhuxian thought. The more dangerous it is, the more we should challenge it. Zhongli was not afraid at all. Let's go. If that's the case, then I will risk my life to accompany you. Hua Zhuxian's eyes twinkled. He felt that there should be challenges, and only by training in life and death situations could he train himself. If he wanted to master the Immortal Slayer Dao, he could not be afraid. The Immortal Slayer Dao was the fundamental Dao that cut through everything. Let's go. Let's go. Hua Zhuxian led the way, and the two flew into the depths of the abandoned land. Gradually, they could not see the geniuses of the trial anymore. This trial was also a good chance to get rich and train. Not everyone could enter the abandoned land. The two flew for a few hours, and along the way, they saw countless chaos ancient beasts hibernating in the fog. They did not dare to come out and kill them, in case they would be attacked by a group. Fortunately, the chaos ancient beasts were also killing each other here. The abandoned land seemed to be endless, just like the three-dimensional universe. Jiang Li and Hua Zhuxian flew for at least a few galaxies distance, but they still could not see the end. The Chaos Brain Demon's gathering place is in front. Hua Zhuxian hid and pointed. Jiang Li's eyes pierced through the fog, and indeed, he saw many brains flying in the air. Chapter 645. The structure of this universe brain demon is really amazing. I'll secretly capture a weaker one first. Jiang Li secretly activated the infinite dream intent realm. Suddenly, in Hua Zhuxian's eyes, Jiang Li seemed to have turned into a chaos brain demon. He was shocked. Brother, you can actually transform and imitate the aura of a chaos brain demon. I've cultivated a technique related to dreams. I use all kinds of spiritual hypnosis and confusion to create illusions. It's similar to the chaos brain demon. Don't you think that this chaos brain demon is somewhat similar to the universe brain star territory? Jiang Li asked. You're right. Hua Zhuxian's tone was a little sinister. In fact, the master of the universe brain star territory is a chaos brain demon. It already existed in the primordial chaos. By chance, it became extremely powerful and survived the calamity of the Big Bang. In ancient times, many powerful chaos ancient creatures fought and killed each other in the primordial chaos. However, one day, the Big Bang occurred, and all the primal chaos disappeared, turning into the myriad worlds and the three-dimensional universe. All the primal chaos ancient creatures died, and only two were left. They were the master of the brain of the universe and the master of the immortal tower. As for why they were left behind, this has always been a big secret. After surviving the calamity of the Big Bang, their cultivation had reached a terrifying level. This was the first time Jiang Li heard this secret, and he found it unbelievable. The Big Bang was a catastrophe. No living creature could survive, and everything returned to nothingness. However, it was useless to discuss this now. It was better to kill more chaos brain demons and understand their structure to understand some secrets. Jiang Li aimed at a chaos brain demon that was wandering at the edge. He could already feel that the chaos brain demon in front of him was not strong. It was about the standard of an expert with 5 or 6 Dao. In other words, its mental power was between 5,000 to 6,000 dimensional units. He could subdue it in one go. As he got closer to the chaos brain demon, it thought that it was also one and did not take much precautions. Suddenly, Jiang Li made his move. His mental power covered the depths of the Chaos Brain Demon's mind. Immediately, the Chaos Brain Demon's thoughts began to counterattack, turning into illusions and shadows, confusing and confusing. It was actually similar to Jiang Li's Great Dream Seal. It seemed like their cultivation came from the same source. Impressive. If I hadn't cultivated the Great Dream Seal and developed the infinite dream of the infinite divine fist, I really wouldn't have been able to subdue this chaotic brain demon. Jiang Li was secretly shocked by the demon's strength and mastery of mental power. He activated Infinite Dream to its limit and instantly controlled the Chaos Brain Demon, then began to absorb its spiritual power. With a slight movement, as if he had just woken up from a dream, the Chaos Brain Demon before him was absorbed by Jiang Li. Some of the mysteries of genes from the primordial era, as well as the structure of the Chaos Brain Demon, were accurately presented in the depths of his mind. Sure enough, the structure of the Chaos Brain Demon has a deep connection with the brain of the universe star field. Not only that, but their own techniques are also similar to the Great Emperor's Dream Imprint, or rather, the Primeval Emperor's Dream Imprint. After Jiang Li absorbed the Chaos Brain Demon, the number of Chaos coins in the chip increased again, and so did the merit points. However, the biggest gain was that he had a clearer understanding of the structure of the enigmatic law. Countless runes surged out of his body and flickered. The fog shrouded his body again, but from the outside, it looked like he was communicating with the Chaos Brain Demon. That was an illusion. So, the enigmatic law can change like this. I seem to have grasped some of the essence of the fog. Actually, the fog is the same as a dream. After swallowing the Chaos Brain Demon, Jiang Li gained a lot of enlightenment. He immediately connected to the Immortal Tower system, and his soul entered the virtual world. Search. The Lost Deity. He was searching for information about the Lost Deity, as well as various suggestions on how to condense the enigmatic law. In the virtual world's network, he could search for anything. The Immortal Tower system had all kinds of information, but many of them required Chaos coins to view. Fortunately, Jiang Li had obtained a large number of Chaos coins in this short period of time. He searched for some valuable information to download and purchase. In an instant, a large amount of information about the Lost Deity surged into his mind. In the depths of its soul, in the endless fog, a deity appeared. It was unknown whether this deity was male or female, human or demon. Everything was a mystery. So this is the true meaning of the enigmatic law. Good, very good. After obtaining this information, I can truly grasp the enigmatic law. However, my spiritual power is still insufficient to light up the core. I have to carry out a large number of killings and capture more Chaos Brain Demons. Jiang Li began to comprehend the true meaning of the enigmatic law. Swoosh! He flew up, formless and invisible. His spiritual power eroded, and he quietly invaded a Chaos Brain Demon that was equivalent to 3 or 4 Great Tao. 1, 2, 5, one by one, the Chaos Brain Demons were subdued and absorbed by him. Jiang Li purposely chose the weaker ones. He did not touch the stronger Chaos Brain Demons to prevent them from retaliating. These Chaos Brain Demons existed independently. Regardless of their companions, they cultivated silently and did not gather together. This created opportunities for Jiang Li. Hua Zhuxian from the Three-Eyed Race did not dare to go forward, as he did not have the ability to confuse the Chaos Brain Demon like Jiang Li. Once he barged in, he would be treated as an alien. Crack, crack. Jiang Li killed dozens of Chaos Brain Demons. Each of them had a cultivation of 3 Great Tao and above. He kept absorbing their spiritual power, as well as obtaining Chaos coins and merit points. However, he did not store these Chaos coins and merit points. Instead, he immediately purchased more cultivation techniques and information about the Lost Deity. He wanted to study the Lost Deity thoroughly. The body of the Lost Deity became clearer and clearer in the depths of his mind. All kinds of information and knowledge were brewing and comprehending. His enigmatic law runes seemed to be on the verge of emerging. Not only that, in his body, the structure of the other 7 major laws also began to change. The runes began to adjust. This was the benefit of creating one's own great Tao. The self-created great Tao could adjust the rune structure at will. On the other hand, learning someone else's great Tao was like sticking to the rules and could not be changed. A slight change would cause a huge explosion of energy. Up until now, the achievements Jiang Li obtained from killing the Chaos Brain Demon were enough for him to leave. The chip shone brightly. As long as he willed it, he could be transported out and leave this place to pass the first exam of the Genius Training Camp. However, how could he give up on this treasured land? There were too many benefits to cultivating here. He had to master the enigmatic law. At the same time, he would refine his 7 major laws and transform them again. He had obtained a large amount of spiritual power here. His upper limit had increased, so he could better and more finely control the energy and carry out various transformations. I have learned a lot about the path of cultivation. Let's see what will happen next. Can I bring the infinite divine fist and even the various laws to a critical point? I'll increase the number of runes of all the laws to 100 million. Jiang Li calculated in his mind. His cultivation had improved a lot in this round of training. In particular, his knowledge of cultivation had undergone an earth-shattering change. The stronger a law was, the more runes it would have. Ordinary laws would have tens of thousands of runes gathered together. The more powerful laws would have hundreds of thousands or even millions of runes. Tens of millions of runes would simply be the king of laws. The reason why Jiang Li was so powerful was that each law had tens of millions or even tens of millions of runes. Now, his ambition was to break through the 100 million threshold for all nomological law runes. This was already a super heaven-defying act. However, this was just a thought. If he wanted to complete this magnificent feat, he did not know how much time he would have to waste. His spiritual power would also have to be many times stronger to be able to control the huge energy of hundreds of millions of runes without exploding and turning into nothingness. I've killed another powerful chaos brain demon. Jiang Li let out a long, silent roar in the depths of his heart. Suddenly, he moved. A brain demon that was wandering at the edge, which was equivalent to a powerhouse with 9 great Tao paths, was captured by him and devoured once again. Immediately, his spiritual power began to transform. His soul fire increased by another level, reaching 14,000 dimensional units, which was equivalent to a powerhouse with 14 great Tao paths. And all of his chaos coins and merit points were used to purchase information on the lost god and convert it into his own understanding. This way, his cultivation entered a period of rapid, explosive growth. However, in the process of his advancement, he still leaked a bit of his aura. Although it was not easy to capture this aura, powerful existences could still easily discover his secret. But in the depths of this group of chaos brain demons, an extremely tyrannical existence, which was almost as powerful as the brain demon that the girl in white had killed, emitted a thought wave and rushed out. The huge body moved quickly, and all the brain demons felt its might and dispersed. Foolish existence, you actually dare to barge in here. Only death awaits you. That huge brain demon came as fast as lightning, its spiritual power condensed into a substance, emitting a dazzling divine radiance. This was pure spiritual power, but it could pierce through everything. Bang! This divine radiance hit Jiang Li and blasted him far away. Cracks appeared on his body, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Let's go. This chaos brain demon is stronger than the one we killed just now. It's at least a powerhouse with 21 great Tao paths. It can completely crush us. Whether we can escape this time depends on the will of the heavens. Hua Zhuxian's voice was anxious. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Let's go. We can't escape now. Jiang Li's body left quickly. He pulled Hua Zhuxian along and used the infinite space-time ability, but he could not escape from the Chaos Brain Demon's lock. Even if he hit again, his soul would still be locked by the other party. However, they could at least avoid being surrounded by the Chaos Brain Demon if they escaped. If a group of Chaos Brain Demons surrounded them, they would really have no chance. We're running in the opposite direction. Hua Zhuxian said, "You've killed so many chaos brain demons just now. You've passed the test. You can leave now." "How can I leave you behind?" Jiang Li said, "As a teammate, I naturally have a responsibility. Don't worry, we'll lead this chaos brain demon into a dangerous place. There might be powerful existences on the other side. When the two sides fight, we might be able to gain an advantage." Chapter 646. The Chaos Brain Demon is Intelligent. "I'm afraid we won't succeed." Hua Zhuxian was worried as he escaped. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. The Chaos Brain Demon has an absolute enemy, and that is the Chaos Tower Demon. Once they meet, they will definitely fight. We can go to the Chaos Tower Demon's territory. Chaos Tower Demon? Isn't that the race of the Immortal Tower's master? Jiang Li asked. "Yes, but this is taboo. Don't mention it." Of course, the Chaos Tower Demon's master doesn't think they are the same kind, because they are born after the derivation of worlds. They are fundamentally different from the innate ones. They look similar, but not the same in nature. Hua Zhuxian hurriedly flew. If not for Jiang Li's infinite space-time, the two would have been caught by the Chaos Brain Demon. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Behind them, the Chaos Brain Demon's attacks became sharper. Wave after wave of mental attacks, the evil intelligence appeared in their minds. The two could almost see an evil body. It was humanoid, neither male nor female. It had a yin-yang constitution. "Dream. One of you has mastered the true meaning of dream? Hand it over, and I can spare you. I can even turn you into chaos brain demons and lead you out of this wasteland to conquer the entire world." Jiang Li struggled to hold on. He felt like he was being hypnotized. The Chaos Brain Demon's mental power had reached the level of 21 great Daos. If nothing went wrong, the two would definitely die. Ahead is the Chaos Tower Demon's territory. "Look." Hua Zhuxian seemed to be familiar with the situation here. He pointed again. Sure enough, in the fog ahead, buildings appeared one after another. These buildings were actually pagodas. They were alive. These pagodas also had levels. Some only had one level, some had many. The division of strength was very obvious. The pagodas floated in the fog. Treasures appeared on each level. All kinds of pagodas and treasures were powerful and majestic. Rumble. A 9-story pagoda flew towards Jiang Li and the others. On top of the 9-story pagoda, there was a magic treasure guarding each level. There were swords, scriptures, relics, flying ships, flags, long streamers, hooks, axes, and spears. The pagoda slowly pressed down, its force field enveloping the entire area. An evil and ruthless will was transmitted from it. "You actually dared to barge into our territory. Only death awaits you." This pagoda is the equivalent of an expert with 9 grand Daos. Additionally, its entire body is made up of magic treasures. Hua Zhuxian said, "There was once a person who came here to capture this Chaos Tower Demon and destroy their consciousness. Then they left their bodies and infused their consciousness into it, turning it into a tower-shaped treasure." Jiang Li also knew that this Chaos Tower Demon was like a moving treasure. When he saw the Tower Demon flying towards him, he grabbed the air and used the infinite devour of the infinite God Fist. Whoosh! A wisp of soul fire was forcefully sucked into the Tower Demon, fusing into his body and the photon computer chip. The outer shell of the Tower Demon shrunk, turning into a pagoda the size of a rune and falling into Jiang Li's palm. Just like that, Jiang Li obtained a treasure. Actually, he didn't need these treasures, but he could sell them to others after he got out. They were very valuable and could be sold for a lot of chaos coins. Hua Zhuxian's heart was burning. He ignored the danger and grabbed a 6-story pagoda. He did the same thing and put it into his pocket. A 6-story pagoda was equivalent to an expert with 6 grand Daos. He hadn't cultivated a grand Dao yet, but he succeeded in grabbing it. This showed how powerful the immortal slaying Dao was. Many of the laws in the immortal slaying Dao had more than 10 million runes. Roar! A stronger sound came from afar. The experts in the Chaos Tower Demon sensed the arrival of the Chaos Brain Demon. The two were like fire and water. They would definitely kill each other when they met. A 20-story pagoda flew out and collided head-on with the Chaos Brain Demon. The scene was chaotic. However, the Chaos Brain Demon and the Chaos Tower Demon didn't let the two go just because they were fighting. They sent out a part of their consciousness to kill the two. Two rays of light covered the sky and swept across the place. Jiang Li and Hua Zhuxian had nowhere to run. "It's time." Jiang Li patted Hua Zhuxian's body. Immediately, Hua Zhuxian felt the two great Daos rushing into him. His combat ability was rising, and the immortal slaying great Dao was stirring, as if it was about to transform. He seemed to have changed into a different person. His body was majestic and could cut through everything. In the blink of an eye, thousands of sword chi surged out from his body. The sword chi contained white lotuses and a fragrance that lit up the whole world. "This is..." Hua Zhuxian was shocked. "It's the immortal slaying Dao and immortal ending Dao. My God, where did you come from? This is what I've been dreaming of. Infinite divine fist." Jiang Li didn't care about Hua Zhuxian. Instead, he coordinated with his sword chi and unleashed a move of his own. 16 moves of infinite godly fists fused together and pushed forward. Kaboom! Both of their attacks converged and shattered the bright light that was sweeping towards them on the spot. Damn! Jiang Li broke free from the encirclement and felt that the immortal slaying Great Dao and immortal ending Great Dao were 10 times more powerful in Hua Zhuxian's hands. He couldn't help but be shocked. These two Great Daos were created for Hua Zhuxian. He wasn't suited for these two Daos. However, he was only giving them to Hua Zhuxian temporarily. If Hua Zhuxian wanted them, he would have to pay a high price to get them. Brother, these two Great Daos. Hua Zhuxian was still thinking about it. "Don't say too much." Jiang Li sent a strand of wool over. "I'll lend you these two Great Daos for now. Let's take this opportunity to break out of the encirclement and kill more Chaos Pagoda demons. Okay, let's work together and fight our way out." Hua Zhuxian was decisive. He had two Daos, together with the immortal slaying Dao that he hadn't mastered yet. His killing power was earth-shattering. Whoosh! Thousands of rays of light converged into a long river of sword chi, shooting towards the surrounding Chaos Tower demons. Those tower demons were swept away by the sword chi and died one after another. But their corpses were kept in the sword chi and into Hua Zhuxian's pouch. Jiang Li continued to strike out with his infinite god fists, killing the tower demons. The two worked together like wolves and tigers. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of tower demons were killed. Jiang Li felt his mental power was about to break out of a cocoon and become a butterfly. It wriggled and rose to another level, reaching 15,000 dimensional units. Hua Immortal Slayer's advancement was even faster. Laws were being formed in his body. The Immortal Slayer Great Dao originally had 100 laws, and he had cultivated 95. Now, with the crazy slaughter and the enlightenment of the immortal slaying Great Dao and immortal slaying Great Dao, he had cultivated 96 laws and 97 laws. He and Jiang Li were both advancing, and their battle prowess had increased by several folds. This way, they killed even more tower demons. In the distance, the huge tower demon and brain demon were fighting each other. They couldn't care less about the two. Kill, kill, kill. Hua Zhuxian's temper rose. He actually swept into the group of tower demons. Sword chi spread. Not a single tower demon could block his sword technique. Jiang Li was very familiar with his sword Dao. As such, it was very easy for them to work together, especially the infinite godly fist, which could fuse all martial arts as its foundation. He lent two great Daos to Hua Zhuxian, and from them, he could feel the profoundness of the great Dao of Zhuxian and its destructive power. This way, immortal slaying Dao's martial arts profundities were also fused into infinite divine fist. This caused his martial arts to undergo a fundamental change. Maybe my infinity divine fist has too many moves, and I have to simplify it like before, fusing all the moves together again. As he thought about it, Jiang Li's infinity divine fist became even more ferocious, simple yet exquisite. 10 times the killing power. The two of them were like killing machines. Wild winds swept in, and hundreds of tower demons died. This way, each of them killed at least 1,000 tower demons. We're rich. We're rich. These tower demons' corpses are good treasures. If we bring them out, we'll be rich. Many people will fight to the death for them. Hua Xian was getting more and more comfortable. Let's go. Let's leave quickly. The tower demon and brain demon are about to win. Zhongli was very calm. Hua Xian looked. Indeed, in the distance, the tower demon and brain demon were both using their strongest mental power. Soul fires flew out and collided. A destructive mental wave spread out. The two of them immediately ran far away and tried their best to resist. Only then did they stop the aftershocks. The tower demon didn't seem to have the upper hand either. Its body was broken everywhere, and it retreated deeper into the crowd. Brain demon's body was burning. He let out a shrill scream and was also retreating. Go. Zhongli sent out a thought. This brain demon is heavily injured. Let's chase and kill it. As long as we kill this brain demon, we can go back. He flew out first and followed the burning brain. Hua Xian naturally followed. In no time, the two of them caught up. Hua Xian shot out a sword energy, using all his strength. On the other hand, Zhongli elevated his infinite divine fist to another level. The two of them attacked fiercely. While it was weak, it killed it. The light bombarded the burning brain. The brain demon's body was disintegrating. It screamed even louder. Then, its body started to shrink. Hatred burst out from its body. Kacha kacha. The brain demon actually turned into a human. The flames on its body were extinguished. It stood steadily and looked at Jiang Li and Hua Xian. It was going all out. Two little creatures, you actually forced me to this extent. The brain demon's mental power was like an all-piercing again. Jiang Li's eyebrows moved. His mental power also exploded. The two mental powers collided in space and created the power of a planet exploding. Hua Xian was even simpler. One sword destroyed the mental power attack. Another sword descended on the brain demon's head like a flying immortal. Chapter 647. The brain demon transformed into a human and became much stronger. With a wave of his hand, he broke the sword chi. Jiang Li's gaze was calm, and he didn't move at all. His body was like a boulder as his infinite divine fist changed over and over again. Countless figures appeared in the air. Some of these figures transformed into martial arts from the martial world, some from the celestial world, some from the dragon race, and some from the demon world. There were also a few tall figures that actually performed the immortal slayer Great Tao. In an instant, it felt like 10,000 years. These martial arts gathered together and turned into a torrent that struck when the brain demon broke the sword chi. The brain demon used all sorts of mysterious footwork in an attempt to dodge the attacks. But Jiang Li's attacks became fiercer and fiercer. The torrent of martial arts gathered towards the center. His martial arts had once again improved greatly. The brain demon's cultivation was originally very strong, but it was heavily injured and its strength was only 1/3 of its usual. Jiang Li and Hua Xian, working together, definitely had a chance to kill it. At this moment, Hua Xian slashed again. This slash was more resplendent and dazzling than any of his previous slashes. With the most intense colors and radiance of life, it stabbed into the center. Jiang Li was learning his immortal slayer Great Tao, and he was also secretly learning Jiang Li's infinite divine fist. He was also a genius. He could comprehend by analogy, and all sorts of changes could be brewed in his heart. This slash coordinated seamlessly with Jiang Li. Kacha, kacha. The sword chi shot into the brain demon's heart, and it immediately started to disintegrate. Its face was infinitely distorted and ferocious, as if it had encountered something terrifying. Jiang Li grabbed it and started to devour its essence. Hua Xian wasn't idle either. His sword chi seeped in again and started to destroy, while also absorbing the brain demon's essence chi. Large amounts of essence chi surged in, and both of them felt like they were going to explode. Jiang Li felt the will of the brain demon and obtained a large amount of information and mental power. The runes in his body circulated rapidly, and the mist became dense. The 30 million dense fog runes suddenly trembled, forming one enigma after another, gathering together to form a sphere of law. Ordinary laws were like a long river, but the enigmatic law was a ball of mist. Zhongli had finally mastered the eighth law, the enigma law. After killing the brain demon in front of him, he obtained a huge amount of information and mental strength. Then, he used the various rewards and chaos coins to purchase information on the lost god, completing his transformation in an instant. His spiritual energy began to increase crazily. 16,000 dimensional units, 17,000 dimensional units. It increased by 2 realms in a row before stopping. In other words, his current spiritual power was equivalent to an expert of 17 great paths. Of course, it was still very difficult for him to defeat such an expert. After all, the other party's realm was much higher than his. In the past, the only reason he could challenge those of higher realm was because he had the Grand Emperor's relic. It was all up to him now. Hua Zhuxian was absorbing the brain demon and leveling up. Zhongli waved his hand, and the 2 great Daos in his body flew out. Hua Zhuxian was reluctant, but he knew that these 2 great Dao were precious, and he could not just take them for himself. Brother, I'll buy these 2 great Dao. Name a price. I'll buy them even if I have to go bankrupt. The powerful existence behind me will support me. Tell me, what do you want? I'll try my best to get it for you. Hua Zhuxian stated his conditions. I don't want to sell these 2 things. Since you need them, I'm happy to sell them to you. To be honest, I'm selling them for my race. I hope to get a lot of resources. On one hand, I want to improve my strength, and on the other hand, I want to improve the overall strength of my race. As for what I need, I'll go back and think about it. Zhongli was telling the truth. All right, I'll wait for you to think about it. Hua Zhuxian was still reluctant. Let's continue the massacre here and earn more chaos coins and points. This is a rare opportunity. It's almost time. We passed the test. I think it's better to go back. Zhongli looked at the time on the chip. If we miss the time, although we can still get out, we won't be able to become members of the Genius Training Camp. That's true. As long as we become members of the Genius Training Camp, we'll have plenty of chances to come back here. It's very dangerous here. If a powerful existence appears, we'll die a horrible death. Hua Zhuxian, remember the time. We've gained a lot this time. We got a lot of tower demon corpses. Brother, give me all your tower demons, and I'll sell them for you. I guarantee you'll get the most out of them. That's fine, Zhongli said. With a wave of his hand, over 1,000 tower demon corpses that he had collected were sent out. Among them, the strongest of the tower demons had a cultivation of about 10 great Daos and 10 levels of treasure pagodas. If they left this place and were refined by someone, they would be invincible. More importantly, these tower demon treasures would not be repelled by the 3-dimensional universe. They could be used as they pleased. Actually, Zhongli wanted to send these treasures to the cultivation world. They could increase the strength of many people. However, they were too far away and could not be sent out. It was better to sell them for chaos coins and merit points. He could then exchange them for useful things to increase his strength. With so many pagodas, he could definitely exchange them for good resources. Let's go back. Zhongli and Hua Zhuxian pressed on the chip in their optical computer at the same time. A light enveloped them, and they disappeared. Then, they appeared in the teleportation hall again. Welcome back, lucky ones. You have contributed a large amount of mental strength to the system of the Immortal Tower's star field by fighting in the abandoned land. You have passed the first round of assessment. Next, you will enter the second round of assessment. A mental wave was transmitted to the 2 of them. Next, we'll be teleported to a separate place for the test, Hua Zhuxian said. But with your cultivation, passing the test shouldn't be a problem. After the test, we'll meet again. As expected, the chip glowed as soon as he finished speaking. Then, a ball of light shot out from the void and enveloped Zhongli. Then, they were teleported to another place. Zhongli was not afraid at all. He had mastered the enigmatic rule, and his cultivation had reached the level of a 17 Dao expert. He had the foundation to protect himself. As the teleportation power faded, he appeared in a room. There was a lady sitting in the room. She had crescent brows and looked very sweet. However, there was an inviolable strength rippling from her body. Jiangli took a glance and realized that he could not see through the lady's strength at all. He could not help but be secretly shocked. "You're Eugene, right?" The lady sat still, and a spiritual wave spread out slowly. "I'm your interviewer. Take a seat. I want to talk to you." "Yes." Jiangli sat down naturally. "I wonder what you want to talk to me about." "My name is Yi Wushuang." The lady's expression remained the same. "I've heard about you from Yi Wuji. You've done something for the Yi family. However, I'm a fair person. If you don't pass the interview, I won't give you a spot in the genius training camp." "Yes." Jiangli did not say anything else. Silence was golden. "Let me ask you, what is martial arts?" Yi Wushuang asked. "The transformation of everything is martial arts. The origin of power is martial arts. The soul is martial arts. The gathering of primordial spirit is martial arts." Jiangli shared his thoughts on martial arts. In reality, he had understood the true meaning of martial arts a long time ago. Martial arts were the transformation and application of all sorts of power. "Yes, let me ask you again. What is Tao?" Yi Wushuang asked again. "The opposition of life and death is Tao. The balance of yin and yang is Tao. Order and chaos is Tao. Kindness and evil are Tao. Mutual promotion and restraint are Tao." Jiangli said, "What's the difference between martial arts and Tao? How are they connected? What if there's martial arts, but no Tao? What if there's Tao, but no martial arts?" Yi Wushuang could not stop asking. There was a mental pressure as if he was going to expose the deepest secrets in one's heart. Martial arts is external, while Tao is internal. Martial arts and Tao are a combination of internal and external cultivation. With Tao, there's power. Without Tao, there's no transformation. If there's no Tao, the world will be nothing. If there's Tao but no martial arts, the world will be a mess. Jiangli shared his understanding slowly, like a stream. "What's destiny?" Yi Wushuang pressed on. "Destiny is the form of existence, while luck is the way of existence. Every soul has a line with the void. That's destiny. Just like kites, countless souls are entangled together, forming all sorts of destinies." Jiang Li's rule was life and destiny. Naturally, he had a unique understanding of destiny. "Not bad. Although your understanding is shallow, it's thought-provoking," Yi Wushuang said. "Now, I'll test your cultivation base." Just like that, she sat in the arena. With a flick of her finger, a projectile leaped and shot toward the center of Jiang Li's brows. Jiang Li could see the concentrated power of this light pellet. Although it didn't have any imposing aura, if it hit him, he would be smashed to pieces. This light pellet had locked onto him, and he couldn't even dodge it. Infinite heaven origin. He pointed with his finger as well, and a bright light shot out. It was all concentrated energy. His finger drew a strange arc in the air, and with a flick of his finger, it hit the light of the projectile. Bam! The light exploded and covered his entire body before dissipating. He flew out and spat out mouthfuls of blood. He was severely injured, but he managed to survive. "You're not dead, are you?" Yi Wushuang glanced at him coldly. "Get up if you're not dead. You're very powerful to be able to take my finger. What you performed earlier was Heaven Origin Strike, right? This martial art was originally very profound, but you've messed it up by adding some fancy techniques. It looks like the power has increased, but in reality, you haven't grasped the essence of Heaven Origin. You created this move yourself, right? You're short-sighted. It's worthless." Jiang Li did not know whether to laugh or cry when he heard Yi Wushuang's evaluation of his infinite Heaven Origin. It was the first time he had heard someone comment on his martial art like that. His infinite divine fist had almost created a new martial art. Countless people respected it, and even Zhang Nailin had learned it. It had gone through countless changes and had been tempered thousands of times. Now, it was said to be worthless. Your martial arts are worthless. Are you not convinced? Yi Wushuang seemed to know what Jiang Li was thinking. I can tell that your martial art is self-created, but there are many traces of peerless martial arts in it. You're trying your best to integrate them, but unfortunately, you're nothing. Ordinary people will be shocked by you, but you can't withstand a single blow from a true powerhouse. All peerless martial arts are created by God. You actually want to integrate God's martial arts. Isn't that wishful thinking? Hearing that, Jiangli knew that Yi Wushuang was more powerful than all the powerhouses he had encountered before. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.